This podcast is a part of the Podmania Podcasting Network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. The Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom, right here on the Podmania Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I am joined by Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how the devil are you?
Rob, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and we're only 1 week into the new year, and in my opinion, we already have 3 Match of the Year contenders, based on what I saw on Wrestle Kingdom and based on what I saw on AEW last night. So we're off to a hot start for 2022 if you like really good wrestling, which I know I do, and I'm pretty sure you do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I still wasn't 100% with, obviously, the effects of COVID. I still wasn't 100% on Wrestle Kingdom Night 1. And in the end, I missed the main event. I was just, I need to go back to bed. I'm really struggling. And then I went back and watched it, as in Okada versus Shingo. And I thought it was a great match. And then I watched Night 2, and to me, Night 2 blew it out of the water. I mean, the Stardom match, which me and you were going to be talking about in a bit, was tremendous. Ospreay, irrelevant of what you think about him as a person, in ring, he is absolutely fantastic. And him and Okada have such a fantastic chemistry. So that match was an absolute blinder. I mean, the Tanahashi-Kenta match, that high fly flow from that ladder. I read a tweet, I think it was Chris Dickinson, who said, I wouldn't have climbed that ladder to change a light bulb. It looks so rickety. Yet Tanahashi's doing high fly flows off it, and I'm 100% with him. It looked horrible, but that was also a good match. And then I heard that Danielson and Page tore the house down at AEW. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that was, I don't know if it was just as... If I'm going to rate it, that was 5 stars. As far as I had people ask me this morning, which one do you like better, 1 or 2? They're kind of just different matches, and they kind of, I don't want to ruin, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. It was great. When you see it, text me, and and we can talk about it later. But yeah, it was fantastic. You have Hangman Page has had a string of awesome matches the last 5-6 years, really, since he found his footing. And in my opinion, he's had his 2 best matches with Danielson. To the shock of no one. But yeah, it was it was a barn burn. They did a lot of spots that reminded me of the Danielson Nigel McGuinness stuff, like a lot of crazy hard hitting headbutts and kind of like the psychology of like where they were going and like how their paces were going. Like I was sitting there watching, I turned to Amber, my wife, I said, this reminds me a lot of the stuff with him and Nigel. And which is, I mean, that's the highest praise. I think that's Danielson's the best guy he's ever wrestled. I think he's got on record saying if he can go back and do a WrestleMania main event and pick any wrestler, he's always said, I would love to wrestle Nigel at WrestleMania.
It will be an insane match. I mean, their match, is it United, the Ring of Honor show?
Yep. Yeah, well, there was a lot of them, but that's the one that everyone points
That's the
to.
one from the UK that was absolutely phenomenal. It's one of those matches that's pretty much imprinted on wrestling history, and it's certainly one of the best Ring of Honor matches in a time when Ring of Honor seemed to put on nothing but great matches. However, we've sort of got a little bit distracted away from where what we're actually going to be talking about today, because we are a Stardom podcast, despite what else we talk about. loads of things to talk about today. Obviously, it's a new year for Stardom, so we're going to be talking about their first show of the year, which was called Stardom Award 2021 from Belle Salle. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the awards that they gave out, the unmasking of the Momos and their first match. We're going to be talking about a couple of the Korakuen shows that are coming up, the back-to-back Korakuen shows at the weekend. We're going to be revealing our winners of the Stardom Cast End of Year Awards, the most prestigious Stardom awards, obviously. And of course, we're going to be talking about Stardom's foray onto the main card of Wrestle Kingdom Night 2 as well. Before we do all that, though, just a couple of bits of housekeeping. The first thing, and I know this is a self-plug, and I apologise, but my Stardom book, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th Anniversary in Review, is now available wherever you get your ebooks. You can get a printed copy of it, but you can only get that from Lulu. Otherwise, it was making me charge far too much for it. So if you want a printed copy, please go to Lulu. If you want an ebook, you can get it from Amazon. For your Kindle, you can get it from Lulu, wherever. The links are in my Twitter description. They're also pinned to the top of my Twitter page. So thank you to everyone who has bought one already. The response has been quite honestly phenomenal, and it's been really, really, really nice. So thank you very much for that. Also, our Patreon is now live. We dropped our first bonus episode, the Io Shirai retrospective of her second reign with the red belt. That is to our red belt and white belt tiers on Patreon. If you want to join our Patreon, really simple. Just go to patreon.com/the Stardom Cast. Pick the tier you want to join. There are 3 high-speed tiers, just $1 a month, and you get things like you get to vote on polls, give us matches to review, get a shout out on the podcast, that kind of thing. For the bonus episodes, again, white tier is $3, red belt is $5. Please come and join us, listen to us talk and wax lyrical about the history of Stardom. Loads of good feedback in regards to that podcast episode, Matt. I don't know what you've heard, but I thoroughly enjoyed recording that episode.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to you about wrestling and Stardom, and just talking about that reign, just absolutely amazing. It was. I guess it was homework, but the fact that technically we got paid to watch one of the greatest title reigns in the last 20 years in all of professional wrestling was absolutely amazing. I mean, I always knew Io was one of the best women's wrestlers of this generation, but that kind of cemented that. I mean, she's in the last 20 years just watching that reign, and hopefully with the Patreon, we can go watch her white title reign, and the V10 red title reign. But just watching that, it's like she's probably the best women's wrestler in the last 20, 25 years, in my opinion. That's just based off, just really those 16 matches we reviewed. So, yeah, we appreciate all the feedback. And if you're interested in listening to the review, by all means, guys, please sign up on the Patreon. I believe it was well worth it. Just to give you an idea how I kind of came up with that idea was when I first started listening to this podcast, the Stardom Cast, I thought, boy, I would love for them and would pay them to do an episode on that, reviewing those 16 matches of Io Shirai. So I might sign up for the Patreon myself just so I can get that episode, even though I recorded it. But yeah, it was an absolute banger to watch. So, and we appreciate any and all feedback.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out, obviously, to our Patreons, Joseph Usher, Rob Jones, Niagara Driver, John Owen, Velkish Braka, Tom, Ed BC, and Brandon Neal. Thank you so much for subscribing. We really appreciate every single one of you, and we definitely couldn't be doing this without your support. So thank you to every single one of you. We really do appreciate it. Let's delve into a little bit of Stardom news then, Matt. So before we kick on to anything, Stardom have obviously got 3 big shows penciled in for 2022. The first of which is Nagoya Supreme Fight from the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium on the 29th of January. Just a little bit of ticket information. They have sold out the VIP seats, they have sold out the under 25 seats, and they have sold the front of the stand seats as well. There are limited seats for females. The female seats are now at minimal, so there aren't many of those left, but it sounds like they're shifting tickets well. In terms of an attendance, me and you sort of speculated last episode, Matt, what an attendance would look like in that gymnasium. Before COVID, you're looking at round about 5,500 New Japan, and Dragon Gate were drawing to that. After COVID, so talking about 2021, just 2021, Dragon Gate Final Gate drew 2,280. And then New Japan have averaged an attendance of about 1,950. So they drew about 1,500 to the New Japan Cup, drew 2,500 to the G1 Climax. So if Stardom can draw, 1,200 maybe? 1,250? If they can draw 1,500, that would be a massive success, I would have thought, Matt. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think would be a success? So, I mean, let's put the benchmark around 1,400, 1,500, and then once once the show happens and we get the results, then we'll hand out our flowers. But yeah, they're doing well. I mean, they are doing really well, and a lot of that has to come off obviously they built up the company, the last 4 or 5 years. But what they were able to do last year and carrying into this year, and I think a lot of the tickets and a lot of the Stardom World subscriptions and the YouTube subscriptions, you always have to give credit to the person on top. And I mean, it's a team effort, no doubt about it. But I think a lot of this is coming off the back of Utami's over 400-day title reign. And obviously that, spoilers, but obviously that title reign ended back at Wrestle Kingdom. So we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, there's a change of the guard up top. So that we'll see how that carries on going forward. And then obviously, too, with the Momo heel turn. So there's a lot of interesting factors going in, but I think Stardom is going to be on an absolute roll. And just the 10, 11 minutes they had at the Tokyo Dome, which we'll be, talking about later on this episode, that opened up a lot of eyes, because about half an hour after that match was over, my Twitter and my text messages from friends and fans of mine were asking me a whole bunch of questions. So I was like, well, obviously the buzz is there. The buzz is there, and it's onward and upward for them. So, good on them.
Yeah, the buzz around that Wrestle Kingdom match was really palpable, especially directly after it. A load of people saying it was the best match on the cards, before, obviously, Ospreay and Okada tore the house down. But people like Filthy Tom Lawler, who was a big Stardom fan anyway, Chris Dickinson the same, Dave Meltzer said he wished they'd had more time, just because they maximised the time they've been given, and did really well with it, but he'd have loved to have seen a lot more, which it'll be interesting actually to see what Meltzer rates that match. And to be honest, all the Wrestle Kingdom matches, because I thought there was some great matches, but there was also some clangers, looking at no people in particular evil. Talking about, obviously, how...
God bless you.
Honestly,
God bless you.
Honestly, when he came out in that Ishii match, I could have cried. I physically could have cried, but never mind, doesn't matter. Talking about Stardom's sort of how Stardom's year is going, someone, and I'm really, really sorry for this, I meant to screenshot the person's name as well on Twitter so I could give them a shout out, and unfortunately I've cropped it out of the image. So I did find this on Twitter, and if the person listens to the podcast, please tell me it was you, or if someone knows who this was, tell them that we shouted them out and they do fantastic work. But I've got a list of the Korakuen Hall holiday attendances, so over the Christmas period. If we take 725 as a COVID sellout, there's only been 2 companies over the festive period that have sold out Korakuen Hall. One of those is DDT, that sold out Korakuen Hall on their 3rd of January show, and the other was Stardom. The year-end climax on the 25th of December sold out 725 people. And we've got a list here ranging from Noah's shows on the 5th and the 4th of January, which were around about 400 people each. I don't think you can really look at those numbers because they were directly against New Japan, more or less. You've got Noah's 27th show, which hit 411 people. Seedling drew 680 on the 29th. Big Japan drew 645 on their 2nd of January show. All Japan drew 701 to their 3rd of January show. And New Japan drew 696 to their Christmas Eve Road to Tokyo Dome show. So just as sort of an indicator of where Stardom is in the grand scheme of things, I think on average attendances last year, they were only beaten by New Japan and Dragon Gate, and they were a substantial amount ahead of Noah. So that's phenomenal. that really is a phenomenal year for Stardom, and what a way to tie it off, Matt.
Yeah, I also heard somewhere along the lines, I don't know if you heard this, is that as far as making money, they made more just because the expenses for New Japan are more. Obviously, the wrestlers cost more, the production costs more. But as far as Bushiroad, they made way more money than at per event than they did New Japan, which is astounding. Consider the fact that what New Japan's been able to do for the last 10 years and how much their New Japan World subscriptions have gone up. So it's especially your cup. We're I'm not going to say we're coming off of COVID era because we talked about it before we're taping. We're still in it, and we don't know how much longer we're going to be in it. So that's absolutely amazing. It's really nice that you did you always do your research, but the research on all those numbers, because it's nice to hear all those companies doing pretty well. The New Japan, the All Japan numbers seem to be going well. That Seedling number kind of I literally just jumped in my chair when I heard how well they drew. But that's really good that wrestling is doing really well in Japan, and it looks like Stardom is on the right behind New Japan. They're kind of on the forefront of it. So only positive things to say. So onward and upward. Keep the momentum going, and excited to see where this company's going to do in 22 and 23 and 24.
Yeah, just piggybacking on that last point. Armani Shoe Exchange on our Discord said that Cyberfy were the company who are in charge of DDT and Noah. They've posted losses this year with one thing and another, whereas Stardom and New Japan, obviously owned by Bushiroad, and they've posted not only profits, but in Stardom's case, the biggest profit that they've had since Bushiroad took over. So enormous props there. In response to your huge 2022, we had another video package during the awards show that sort of just highlighted the three big dates for 2022 in terms of pay-per-views, and I just want to quickly repeat those so people have got them in the diaries. I'm sure people have anyway, but even so, the Nagoya Supreme Fight 2022 in Nagoya, that is going to be on January the 29th. We've then got Stardom Cinderella Journey 2022 in Nagaoka, which is in Nagata, and that's going to be on the 23rd of February. And then, of course, the first really enormous moment for Stardom in terms of 2022 was them being able to announce that they'll be running 2 back-to-back nights at Sumo Hall, Stardom World Climax 2022, which will run on the 26th and the 27th of March, and those are both a Saturday and a Sunday. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely. But like I said, on the 3rd of January, Stardom ran their awards, the Stardom Award 2021 in Belsal Takadanobaba, which I hate saying because I can never tell if I say that right, but if I say it with enough confidence, Matt, it sounds like I've said it right, so fingers crossed. This was in front of 430 fans. They ran that venue 4 times last year, and this is a bigger attendance than all 4 of those dates, which is excellent. We had 4 matches, but we also had the 2021 Stardom Awards, and these are the categories and the winners for the 2021. So, the Best Technique Award went to Saya Kamitani. The Fighting Spirit Award went to Yanagi Sayaka. The Outstanding Performance Award went to Syuri. The Shining Award to Starlight Kid. The Best Unit to Ueda Tai. The Best Tag Team Award to Fukuoka Double Crazy, Hazuki and Koguma. The Best Match Award to Tam Nakano and Julia from the Budokan show, the 3rd of March. The Special Award went to Mayu Iwatani, and the MVP went to Utami Hayashishita. Of those then, Matt, are there any that stick out as a real surprise? Are there any that you'd change? Are there any that you're really happy for? What do you think?
For all of them. I mean, all these girls work hard. The whole company works hard. I'm never going to complain about something that's voted on because everybody has different opinions, and that's great. Especially, we talk about wrestling, and you could like this match better than this match, and, maybe I have a different opinion on it. We can always discuss it, which makes wrestling and the fandom great. But I guess the 2 things that would stick out is the tag team. I figured tag team would have been Shiri and Julia. But whatever, not that big of a deal. But match of the year, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tam and Julia was great. Tore the house down, main evented Budokan, phenomenal story leading up to it. But in a year that pretty much was solidified Stardom, by almost one match. Like, I just don't understand how it doesn't go to Siri and Utami. Again, not that big of a deal. I love Tam, love Julia. Good on them, good on everybody. But I figured match of the year kind of would have been a shoo-in. Kind of would have been one of the Siri Utami matches. But I don't know. How about you?
To be honest, you've got Utami and Suri already winning one award, and I'm sure it's not a sort of everyone gets a trophy sort of thing. But I think giving Tam and Julia that, it was an excellent match, but it also gives more trophies to more of the roster, I suppose. The one that surprises me, and in a good way, actually, is the Best Unit Award going to Oedo, because early in the year, they were just dreadful. Like, they were utterly directionless, they were boring, they were the worst thing about Stardom. And for them to turn their year around and for Stardom to rehab that unit as well as they have done is a tremendous story. It's probably one of the better stories of 2022 has been the turnaround of Oedo from, a bunch of goobs, basically, to being, the unit of the year. And sure, a lot of that has to do with the acquisition of Starlight Kid and, towards the end of the year, Momo, but I thought they'd done an extremely good job of rehabbing Tora's character before the injury, so I'm really happy for Oedo. I really am, to be perfectly honest. I've got no idea what the special award is that Mayu won, but I do know it's the only one that comes with a cash prize as opposed to a trophy. So it does scream as, oh my God, we forgot to give Mayu a prize. Just make one up. Just make one up, which as a teacher, we have definitely done before.
That should be like an inside rib where she wins it every year. Like, I don't know if you're familiar from the WWEF from the Slammies in the 90s where Owen Hart would just come up on stage and like take somebody's award. Like, kind of, and yes. That's what they should do every year. Like, the special award goes to, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? What does the envelope say? I can't see. I'm all nervous. Why are we telling me? Yeah, she should win that every year. But real quick, just to piggyback off your thing with the Oedo, I obviously would have given it to Queen's Quest, but obviously, again, it's not that big of a deal. But I see your point. From where they started to where they ended. And I think a lot of that has to be on the back of what Starlight Kid was able to do, not only with her character, but with her in-ring and with her promos and with her stuff backstage. I think a lot of that, to me, as if somebody asked me, like, who's the best person in that group, Momo's just got there. So it's really, you really can't, put anything on Momo yet. But I think over the last 5-6 months, the whole Oedo thing, not only, was all, given a big shot in the arm, on the back of Starlight Kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say that, Starlight Kid wasn't a huge part of the rejuvenation, but, it is important to note that just before her arrival, they were starting to do good things on the back of that all-out war with stars. But that was the Stardom Awards, and like I say, they drew 430 people to Balsal, which was a COVID sellout. There was 4 matches on the actual show itself, so if we run through a couple of these. Match 1 saw the Oedo team in a 6-woman tag of Starlight Kid, Starlight Kid, Rina and Ruaka defeat the team of Lady C, Waka Tsukiyama and Mina Shirakawa in 10 minutes and 39 seconds. Ruaka getting the pin over Waka with a freezer bomb. Matt, not a great deal to say about this match, but what did you think? What were your overall thoughts?
Girl, Lady C, channeling Kenta Kobashi with those chops. There were some of those chops she was hitting. I was like, holy jeepers. Like, she was really throwing them. Yeah, really not much to say. It was kind of just a simple match. Again, everybody worked hard. It wasn't bad. They just kept it real simple. And just the other note I had is there was a really nice high-speed exchange with Mina and Starlight Kid. It always seems like there's not enough people in that division. And every now and again, when you would see like a Natsupoi or Azumi or Starlight Kid in one of these 6-persons or 8-persons tags, they're always like a quick 20 or 30 or 40-second exchange that you think, I think that person would be really good in the high-speed division. And I wouldn't mind seeing Mina and Starlight Kid in maybe a 5-6 minute high-speed match. Something different. Maybe something that can add something to Mina's game. So we'll see where that goes.
I think that's something that I find as a big difference between Mina and Unagi, whereas Unagi is good at, the fire, the baby face, the coming from beneath, and at the moment they seem to be packaging her as something of a powerhouse in Cosmic Angels. Mina is able to have different matches, and I thought that was, like you said, really clear and evident here. And it's the same conversation we have about Saki Kashima. You're not doing anything with her. She can hang with the likes of Azumi and Starlight Kid. Why not throw her into the high-speed division? What have you got to lose? Give us something to do. And the addition of Amina and Asaki would pad out that division because they are short of people. There's no two ways around that. Now that Starlight Kid has defeated Koguma twice, Azumi, Fukigen Death, there's not a great deal left for her to do. So to add those different people would certainly be a huge plus to that division. But no, in truth, it's probably the match you need to skip. If you only pressed to watch 3 matches, I wouldn't bother with this one too much. But Lady C, she's important later on. We'll get into that. Match 2 then was an 8-woman tag with the Donna Del Mondo team of Maika Himeka and Natsupoi and Syuri defeating the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, Koguma and Hanan with the running powerbomb from Himeka to Koguma in 13 minutes and 35 seconds. Surprised me that they let Koguma take the pinfall here. Koguma didn't get pinned a significant amount in 2021, yet not only did they give Koguma the pinfall here, they also had Himeka deliver the winning pinfall.
Yeah, kind of weird considering the fact that everybody's in it. And not only that, but did you notice how the match started? It started with, because we were kind of figuring, okay, what's Syuri going to do? What's going to be her first big title defense? And kind of hinted after Wrestle Kingdom where Mayu grabbed the microphone and said in 2022 she's going to focus on the red belt. And that's how the match started. Mayu basically kind of called Syuri down a little bit, and Syuri took the rest of members of DDM and told them to, go on the apron. She was going to start. And they had a nice little exchange, and they kind of teased a couple things, not only at the start of the match, but the middle of the match as well. So I think that's where they might be going for maybe the anniversary show. And obviously that would be a heck of a match. And again, I want to talk about what I talked about in the first match. Whenever you see one of these high-speed wrestlers in these multiple-person matches, there's always a quick spot that you kind of scratch your head and say, I would like to see that. And I saw it here. Natsupoi and Hannah. I know you're really big on Hannah. We, from the past few podcasts we've done, and she showed a lot to me in the last show at Wrestle Kingdom. And that would be a very interesting match, maybe in the high-speed division, or even if they just had a quick 5-6 minute match, maybe to start a show, to start a match hot. That would be something that I would definitely look forward to because she has improved so much over these last few months. And Natsupoi she's just really, really on her game.
Definitely. I mean, with Hanan, I can see her taking the Mayu route, through the high-speed tag team and artist sort of route towards that main event scene. She's only 17, so, she's got a lot of time left, but I can definitely see her in that division. And yeah, she certainly held her own against Natsupoi. As for the Mayu angle, I think that might be something we look at for the Nagoya show. Simply because you look at the storyline they were telling with Syuri. She wants to complete that legacy. She wants to do it for her mother. And that started initially with the Red Belt Challenge against Mayu. And Mayu beat her. So it would certainly make sense to cap off this entire sort of legacy angle and legacy storyline that they've been doing with Syuri. What a fantastic way to put a bow on that storyline than with a clean win over Mayu, the person who beat her and stopped her getting the red belt in the first place. I think that'd be perfect. And I do think Syuri will come out on top, and rightly so, against Mayu. What about you?
No, I totally agree. I mean, it seems like that whenever there's a new champion, it would always be like, well, your first defense is against Momo. This way, it's like you're going to have a good match. And we've seen it with B. Priestley. We saw it at the end of 2020 with Utami. Obviously, they can't do that now because they flipped Momo. And maybe maybe Mayu is going to take up that spot, which, hey, that's a great spot to have because everybody believes in her. Everybody likes her. She's over. She draws well. She turns heads. And she can have a good match with a broomstick. Or a good match with a goat or a cow, whatever it is that you said a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I forget which one it was.
I think it was a sheep.
Yeah.
I think I came out with.
Oh, geez, I just threw everything out there and I didn't even get the right animal. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I think that's going to be her first big defense. At least that's the way they're planting the seeds. And sign me up. Not only will I watch it, but Rob, here's what I do. If that match happens, not only will I watch it, but I will go on a podcast with you and I'll talk about it.
Oh, there you go. See, I mean, what more reason would you need to have that match on? What reason? Oh. Match 3 was a 6-woman tag with the Queen's Quest team of Sai Kamitani, Azumi, and Utami Hayashishita defeating the Oedo Tai team of Momo Watanabe, Fukigen Death, and Saki Kashima in 16 minutes and 21 seconds, with Azumi tapping out Saki with the numero uno. Couple of things from this match that really stuck out to me, Matt. One was the huge emphasis they are placing on Azumi in this angle. And surely this is only going to be a big thing. Like the feud with Momo, their, spoilers, eventual main event at Korakuen, which will be this weekend. It really could be a launching pad for Azumi to be on equal footing with Saya and Utami, challenging for those bigger belts on a more regular basis, because, they could have, done Momo turning on Utami, but ultimately Utami's already a star. We don't need to do anything with that. We've got this whole thing going on with Saya Kamitani, and now she's the white belt champion. It's the perfect mix. Turn on Azumi, it's your best friend. We've got that emotional feud. And if Azumi puts in a fantastic performance against Momo, which she will, probably in a losing effort, but she will, we know she will, she's tremendous, it really could be that launching pad to bigger things later on in the year.
I mean, we're both really big on Azumi, so obviously, yeah, we knew this match was going to happen. They got to fill a lot of seats. Not only that, but do it while it's hot. This angle is hot. Again, we don't know where they're going with Momo, but yeah, sign me up for a Momo Azumi match. Sure. I would take that when they were both in Queen's Quest. But now you have the heel baby face dynamic, and you have, turning on my tag partner, turning on, my younger sister. So that always sells tickets. Real life drama always sells tickets. And I thought this match was pretty good. It kind of hit on all the notes. I liked it how Queen's Quest kind of reversed the roles in the beginning of the match on Oedo Tai, because they're the ones that always start off with the jump, where they basically dismissed, Momo dismissed Saki and Fukigen Death, and then the three ladies in Queen's Quest decided to, hey, taste your own medicine, and so they jumped Momo. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good, like, hey, good on you. The heck with you, Momo. I thought that was really good. Obviously, there was a really good finishing stretch between all these ladies. They hit on all the notes. Everybody got enough in. Just really the only confusing thing is we talked on this podcast how we thought they were kind of building Saki up for maybe a white belt match with Saya, just because she pinned Saya before Saya won the belt at the Captain's Fall match, and then she pinned Azumi in the first Momo Oedo Tai match. So we thought that they were maybe getting just a small push just to build her up for Saya, but then she takes the fall here. So I kind of figured that Fukigen Death would have taken the fall here, or Momo would have gotten the pin. But yeah, you're building Azumi up, so just a little confused on what they're doing with Saki, because it kind of seemed like the last 6 or 7 weeks they were kind of going to go with her to build her up, but then she takes the fall here. So yeah, it's interesting to see what happens. But yeah, Azumi, Momo, sign me up.
I find it so weird. Like, Saki, unfortunately, is going to be in that position where she is an older head on the roster, therefore they're going to parachute her in wherever she needs to be. I don't think she's got a direction. I think it's more a case of, we are missing a person, right, stick Saki in there. Saki can do a job. Which is unfortunate, because she is great, and that's why so often we call her on this podcast the most underrated person on the roster. And I think she suffered, especially in Stars, for having a lack of personality. But here, I think, they could do something with her in the high-speed division. They could do something with her as a filler defense for the white belt, and they still might, because she does still have that pinfall victory over Saya. That's not going to go away. The big jarring thing for me was Fukigen Death in this match. You're trying to build this emotional feud between Queen's Quest and Momo. As you rightly pointed out, Queen's Quest jumping Momo before the bell. Really, really going in hard on Momo, which is great because they are angry, they're emotionally distressed. But then you instantly go to a clown hitting people with a newspaper and some death hands. and people being forced to sell that as though it's the same as a Momo kick. And I find that so jarring. And don't get me wrong, I don't have an issue with Death. She's fine lower card. But you could have swapped out Ruaka or Rina even for this. And that way you've got Rina taking the pinfall, Azumi still gets the pinfall win, Saki doesn't take the pinfall, and we haven't got the jarring emotional roller coaster of the emotion of the feud between Momo and Queen's Quest, and then Death hitting Utami in the face with a newspaper. I found that a little bit strange in this, especially when there's a 463 members of a Weddatai that you could have swapped Fukic and Death for. I don't know if I'm just being a little bit picky though, Matt.
Well, I just got a text message from R. Ogawa, and he says that he wants you to call him because he's got some ideas he wants to talk to you about. Yeah, you home run, sir. Absolutely. I didn't even look at it like that, just because I was kind of seeing the bigger picture on it. But that is obviously something small that leads into something major. So that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, sir. I may say this once a podcast. I don't understand why you're not booking somewhere, because that is, speaking of book, Rob's book is out, guys. Go and buy it. Little cheap plug segue there, but no, you're absolutely right. We have this Queen's Quest jump in the beginning. We had this big feud with Evil Momo, the Dark Peach, and we have everything just everybody's just hitting hard and there's so much emotion, and then you got this clown coming in here doing her gimmick, which is fine, but not in this spot, not in this match. You could have either kind of maybe kept her out of the way, or again, you could have swapped out any other member of a Weddatai in there, and it would have built everything up and made everything made a little more sense.
Just another couple of things. I'm never going to be disappointed in Azumi and Saki roll-up exchange. I thought that was brilliant. And that sort of lead-in, that transition that Azumi did to get into the Numero Uno was just tremendous. Beautifully executed. And obviously she gets the pinfall victory. However... Submission
victory.
Oh, sorry. Submission victory. Did I say pinfall? What am I talking about? Yes. I knew what I got
you, buddy. Don't you worry about it. Okay. You just want to make sure I was paying attention.
That's exactly what it was. That's what it was. But yeah, I storm the ring. But Lady C comes in to help. Hits Momo with the great Carly brain chop.
Dare you. How dare you. I just put you over. And you can't say Giant Baba on this podcast. Great Khali. Just say WWE Hall of Famer, the Great Khali. Here's the goal on with it.
The biggest proponent of the brain chop. But yeah, she comes to the ring to help. Azumi manages to bring an end to the fight, challenges Momo Watanabe to a singles match at the upcoming Korakuen show at the start of the New Year Stars Tour, which Watanabe accepts. And from there, Lady C joins Queen's Quest, which is nice because they were the seconds in her debut match. And also, you're trying to build Azumi. Queen's Quest sort of need a pin eater. Sorry, fans of Lady C, but that's sort of where we're going with that. She will definitely get more wins this year, but she will also eat a lot of pinfalls. But it was really nice to have her get that little bit of a spotlight, to come to the aid of Queen's Quest. Do you think it's a good fit for her to be in Queen's Quest, Matt, or would you have put her somewhere else?
I'm a big fan of Lady C just because she's constantly getting better and she's putting in the work, but this might be too much because technically the way it looks on paper is like you lose Momo, one of the best overall wrestlers in the entire world, and you're putting in kind of a rookie. I mean, obviously everybody bumps up. Utami takes the leader spot of Momo. Saya takes over Utami's spot a second, and Commander Azumi takes Saya's spot. Obviously they're pushing her here, and then fourth fiddle is Lady C. But to a group that really didn't have any weaknesses, you're kind of having somebody come in. I understand that you have to eat a pin eater, but just for how awesome Queen Quest was this past year, you're literally taking a Momo out and putting a Lady C in it, where I thought she was going to Donald Del Mundo. But I guess number-wise it makes sense because everybody else has 84 members, and Queen's Quest only had 3. So it's like, well, obviously we've seen the improvement the last 4 or 5 months. She's constantly improving. So obviously this is going to put her in a much, much bigger spotlight, and they're basically going to give her the ball, and we're going to see what's going to happen. I think this is going to be a big, big year for her. I think obviously with her in Queen's Quest, You're going to see her at the 5-star. You're going to see her in the 5-star. And you're going to see her having maybe 10, 11, 12-minute matches with a Utami, with a Momo, with a Saya, with a Tam. And it's really going to, she's either going to sink or swim. And I think just based on how much she's improved in the last 3-4 months, I think in the next 7-8 months, I think you're going to see her swim. I think you're going to see her swim well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had this at the start of 2020 when Saya Kamatani first joined Queen's Quest. And she didn't fit at all. Her ring gear was completely wrong. At one point, they'd photoshopped her into a picture of Queen's Quest and all sorts. She felt not wrong necessarily, but she didn't feel like she belonged at that point. And then they had one of those all Queen's Quest tag matches at Stardom Is Again, and it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And Momo was literally kicking Seven Shades out of Saya and going, right, you need to step up. You're in Queen's Quest now. Step up. And if that happens with Lady C, then I have no issue with it. I mean, no one's under any misapprehensions that Lady C is going to come in and be the next challenger for the red belt. You're looking at elevating the other 3 members of Queen's Quest. You can't really afford them to take pinfalls. So I'm not overly bothered by that. I think she's a good fit in Queen's Quest. Maybe need to sort out the ring gear, just so that she's more stylistically a part of Queen's Quest, especially now as they have the unity with all those ring jackets. To see Lady C as part of that will be really good as well.
Will she get her own mask too?
She might well get her own mask, though they've dispensed with the masks a little bit recently. In the 5-star, none of them wore them coming to the ring. They all had them in their hands, and then in this match, none of them wore it. They seem to be more bothered about the ring coat. So yeah, maybe the masks are slowly on the way out for Queen's Quest. Who knows?
I think it's a merchandising tool. Hey, those photos with the mask or the mask, they make money. So I think obviously you'll see Lady C with a complete different look. Maybe as soon as the next show. I mean, obviously they knew what they were doing with this, so they probably have her gear ready to go. So I think she'll probably get a fancy ring jacket as well. So, we'll see how it plays out. There's obviously positive and negatives to everything. We'll see how it plays out. But I think in 7-8 months when we talk about this, I think it's going to be a big hit for Lady C, for Stardom, and for Queen's Quest.
Definitely. We then moved on to the main event in more ways than one, because we got to find out who X and Double X, the 2 Momos that have been attacking the Cosmic Angels rookies, were. And it turned out to be Tekla from Ice Ribbon and Mirai from Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. They teamed up with Julia as part of Donna Del Mondo, and collectively they beat the Cosmic Angels team of Unagi Sayaga, Tam Nakano, and Mei Sakurai with the Poisonous Spider Death Drop in 19 minutes and 37 seconds. Now, I don't profess to be any sort of knowledge base when it comes to Ice Ribbon or Tokyo Joshi Pro. There are people, especially in our Discord, who are very familiar with them and can give you a lot better background than I can. But from research, I know Tekla knew Julia from her time in Ice Ribbon. There was obviously connections there. She's 4 years experience. She won the Triangle Ribbon Championship in May of 2021, and she's only 28 years old. She's also Austrian and has a fantastic English, so that's always going to be good as well, especially for that expansion that will eventually come into the Western world. Mirai Mayumi wrestled in Tokyo Joshi Pro until late last year and was part of a tag team called B-Star with Suzumi. Apparently they were quite popular, and she actually teamed up with Mina Shirakawa a few times in her early career. But way back when it was just one Momo at Kawasaki Super Wars and then Tokyo Super Wars, it was believed that Mirai was the original Momo. So that sort of got confirmed here. What did you think about the two? Did you have a particular favourite? Do you think they covered themselves in glory? What do you think of the new Donna Del Mondo?
Well, I think we got on record saying I don't know much of Joshi wrestling outside of Stardom. So obviously we threw out, who it could be, who would be, it would be funny if it was this person, what if it's that person. So when they unmasked, I was like, okay, I don't know who they are, but obviously I'm invested. But I thought that everybody looked good, on all six of these ladies looked good. But I thought Tekla kind of stood out the most, and I think that was kind of by design. I think if you were to take a stopwatch and like see who had the most ring time, it was her. Obviously, I think right after, like an hour after the match, after the show, she started tweeting out pictures of her and Julia from when they were in Ice Ribbon together. So it's like, okay, you have that connection. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But obviously, that was the big thing on the match, was to see, who was going to be under the mask. Stardom is not going to book anybody that's not top notch. I mean, there's just or they don't see where they can invest anything in. They're in it's a business. And they're, like we talked earlier, they're on the rise, so they're only going to book and put people in that I think they're going to help them. Obviously, what Tekla's able with her pro, and she did a promo after the match. She's able to speak English, so that only makes things better for them, because now she can communicate the promos better over to to the English speaking fans. But I know the best part about the match was we got everything was built around the Momo mask. We had this really nice slap exchange with Tam and Julia, where they were playing on their feud from last year. 2021 was last year, crazy to say. But they're building on their feud last year, and Tam slaps Julia, and Julia sells it that she has to pop her ears because she just got the noise slapped out. I thought that was so good. I rewound that twice just for that spot. I mean, not only was the slap hard, but it was just like her facial selling, the fact that she had to pop her ears. I thought that was really cool. So, it's, again, exciting things. We'll see what's happened. Stardom's really done a good job shaking up their roster the last 4 or 5 weeks.
They have, absolutely. I thought there was a really good dynamic between Tekla and Mirai as well, because, with Tekla, you've got that sort of crazy, sort of hopped up, sort of in your face almost persona, whereas you've got Mirai, who's got that very, very calm and collected and focused personality, but for a fact that she could beat you into oblivion. I don't know what Tekla had before she came out, but I want some before I go to work tomorrow because it looks fantastic. But yeah, both of them in ring looked very good. Obviously, the big thing that came out of this was Tekla's toxic spider spear, which it took the internet by storm and went viral. Looked really cool. Sort of in this crab and sort of sprinted away in this crab and then hit a spear. Very, very, very bizarre, but looked really cool. There was a really cool exchange between Tekla and Tam where Tekla was being so in Tam's face that Tam was like, it's bad when she's too much for Tam, and Tam is in a unit with Unagi. So that goes to show you how much Tekla was being in this. Mirai throws an excellent forearm and a fantastic lariat. And I thought May looked really, really good in this, apart from one point where she full-mounted Tekla and started delivering these forearms, and they were the weakest forearms I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, they were dreadful. But apart from that, I thought this was her strongest outing so far, Matt.
Yeah, we talked about it. I believe she was in a 6-part. Oh, yeah, at Dream Queendom on the 29th. She looked really good in there. We were kind of talking podcast before. We're like, she's not getting it. She's not getting it. She just seemed to step behind. And then all of a sudden, on the 29th, she looked really good. And here she looked really good. So, again, it's just more young members that we're excited to see something about. And, maybe we'll get a Tekla Unagi match. Maybe a case of Red Bull on a pole match, because that's where it might go. But yeah, you talked about the toxic spider. I mean, obviously that was awesome, but it was also the way that Tam sold it facially and the way she fed in for her as well. I mean, 90% of that was Tekla. Let's not take anything away from her. But the fact that they had Tam as the one to take it, like when she did the spider and Tam's facial was like, what the heck is this? And she was like so confused by what she saw. She didn't even see the spear coming. So, we got to give kudos to Tam for selling that and setting that up, perfectly.
Yeah, I thought this, all 6 women properly went. I don't know what someone had said to Julia before she went out, but she threw caution to the wind with some of her strikes. Like, she's always been a little bit sort of devil may care with the strikes, but Jesus Christ, she laid some in here and she looked tremendous here. Like, she just felt, you were automatic. Like, you had Tekla, who is, she draws the eye, let's say, but Julia, she comes into the ring and you can't help but be like, Jesus Christ, she's a star. The way she looks, the way she carries herself, the way she hits people, really, really good. And that slap exchange with Tam was absolutely ferocious. But let's leave Stardom Award 2021 there. 3 very, very good matches if you want to go and check them out. It is on their YouTube channel, which they streamed live. I think it reached about 150,000 viewers altogether. I think live it reached about 20,000 watching during the main event. So really, really good numbers for Stardom. But you can also see it's on World now as well if you want to just check out the matches. Something else big happened, though, on the 5th of January, and that, of course, was the second night of Wrestle Kingdom, where, for the first time in 20 years, premium women's wrestling featured on the main card of a Tokyo Dome show, and we had Tam Nakano and Saya Kamitani defeating the reunited MK sisters, Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani, with the Phoenix Splash in 9 minutes and 46 seconds. So, Matt, as I've said, first time in 20 years women's wrestling's been on the main card of the Tokyo Dome. Did the 4 women do themselves proud?
Absolutely. And obviously we're biased because, I don't know if you guys know, we have a podcast where we talk about this. But yeah, I thought this was, and I think I texted you yesterday, I watched all the matches live as they happened. And this was, between the 2 nights, this was my 4th favorite match. And if it had maybe 2 or 3 more minutes, it maybe got bumped up to number 3. But boy, the MK sisters, they didn't miss a beat, did they? Holy jeepers! I mean, they were on. They were on. Everybody was on. Don't get me wrong, but I think just the combination of Mayu and Starlight Kid, where I think I literally went back after I got out of work that day yesterday. As we record this, I went back and I started watching some of the stuff from earlier last year, 21 and 2020. But I thought this match was incredible. How about you?
I really, really enjoyed it. On the one hand, it was very much an exhibition of Stardom's style. But when Stardom's style is so bloody good at the moment, you're just not going to miss. And when you've got 4 competitors in the ring, Starlight Kid, who had the year of her career last year, Mayu Iwatani, who is one of the greatest female workers to come out of Japan, Tam Nakano, who had a fantastic year last year and one of the rising stars in Saya Kamitani, they're not going to put on a bad match. And they did everything to a T. And you know what? It was helped so much by the commentary. Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton did so much. I mean, Chris Charlton always does a phenomenal amount of research, but he did a fantastic job here. I mean, a little stat that Mayu is now part of a list of only 6 women who have ever wrestled at both MSG and Tokyo Dome, and that is the Crush Gals, Hana Kimura, Bull Nakano, and Alundra Blaze. And something I didn't realise, which, bearing in mind, we watch the product regularly, Mayu was also unbeaten in singles action against all 3 of those women that were in the ring, which I thought was a really, really interesting stat. And obviously you've got the ongoing storyline between Mayu and Tam and Cosmic Angels and Stars, and then the even more pressing one of Starlight Kid and Mayu. So I thought that was a really interesting story beat going forward as well. Starlight Kid wearing a Tiger Mask tribute mask, very similar to the MK Sister. I thought that was a really nice touch. I've only just noticed as well that on the inside of her ring jacket, she's bringing the masks of the people she's beaten in her high speed defenses, and it's very similar to Dragon Gate with the keys on the belt, if that's the case. Because I'm sure she opened up a coat and there was a Koguma one, a Nazumi one, and a Momo one, and that would make sense, wouldn't it? Because those have been 3 of her 4 defenses. So
yeah, I just thought she was just bringing like a whole bunch of masks, but yeah.
Well, that's what I thought initially, and then I was like, I'm sure that's Koguma's mask, because it had like the barriers. So I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, please let me know in the Discord or on Twitter, but I'm sure that's the case, and if it is, that's a really, really cool little thing, cool little Easter egg that we've got there. But yeah, this was tremendous. I mean, the only thing that surprised me really was how much of the heat Saya Kamitani took before delivering the pinfall. Like, she ate almost everything from Starlight Kid and Mayu and kicked out. She hit that schoolboy suplex, and I'm so glad she's added that to her arsenal because it looks amazing.
Well, psychology-wise, it makes sense for her to kind of eat all that because then it's just they're able to get not only all the cool moves and all the everything in, but they were able to get some storytelling there as well. And the storytelling and the psychology was Sai getting her butt kicked and then coming back, hit the Star Crusher into the Phoenix Splash. But yeah, this was just fantastic. Nobody really missed a beat. The double 619s from the MK sister, the Acai moonsault, Starlight Kid did. I thought after she hit the Acai moonsault, I thought maybe Mayu was going to hit one off the top rope as well. I mean, you look at this on paper, right? If I had so many of my friends that don't watch Stardom that told me if they were going to rank these competitors, they would have Starlight Kid 1, Saya 2, Tam 3, and Mayu 4. Now, us who've watched Stardom and researched it and studied it, going into the match, if you were to ask us, well, how would you rate him? It'd probably be reversed. We'd probably have Mayu number 1, Tam number 2, Saya number 3, and Starlight Kid number 4. Or you can flip-flop 3 or 4. So it just really goes to show you just at any given point in time on any stage, any one of these competitors can really steal the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did that with the Kid and Kid and Saya Kamatani opening as well. You had the opportunity to open with Mayu and Tam, two of the most solid workers that Stardom have produced, yet you opened with an absolutely explosive opening between Kid and Kamatani, which really set the pace for the rest of the match, which was fantastic. Overall, I thought this was just a fantastic advert for Stardom. It was put over huge, like I say, by Kevin Kelly and Chris Charlton. And they, in turn, put over Karen Peterson of Post Wrestling, who does an absolutely tremendous job. If you haven't checked her out, go and check that out. But there was no shout-out for us, Matt. Where the hell was our shout-out, Kevin? Honestly.
Well, when something like that happens, I just say, hey, you just got to set it aside and work harder. So maybe Wrestle Kingdom 17 will have our shout out. But we, when they first announced this match, we were like, okay, this should be good. But like, where's Utami? Where's Siri? We're just a few weeks away from this big main event on the 29th at Wrestle Kingdom. How come you're not featuring these two? And I think we kind of said, one, they don't want to tip their hat at winning, and two, they probably only have 9 or 10 minutes. And as good as Siri and Utami are, and they would be great in a 9-10 minutes scenario. Don't get me wrong, but if you only have 9 or 10 minutes, you need to maximize not only your minutes, but your seconds. And I think these 4 were the absolute perfect 4 to do it. As far as, like, if I'm going to give this a rating, I would probably give this 3 3/4 stars. If this had 2 or 3 more minutes, I think this would be like 4 1/4. Like I said, the only thing that was wrong with this match was they just didn't have enough time. And obviously they knew the time going into it because they fit so much in less than 10 minutes.
Got to make time for Evil and Dick Togo, man. Always got to make time for Dick Togo.
Poor running Skeepers, creepers.
But no, I'm with you. Roughly 3 3/4, 4 stars. I thought it was a really, really, really good match, and I'm really happy for all 4 of the women that they've put on a match like that as an advert for Stardom as well. Just before we get into our own awards then, I just want to run through the cards for the first 3 dates of the New Year's Stars Tour. The first 2 on the 8th of the 9th are back-to-back at Korakuen Hall. So the first one on the 8th of January is as follows. So we open with a 3-way between Himika, Koguma, and Lady C. We've then got a 6-woman tag with the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani, Hazuki, and Hanan, taking on the Widatai team of Saki Kashima, Fukigen Death, and Rina. We then got a tag team match between the Donna Del Mondo team of Julia and Tekla, taking on the Widatai team of Starlight Kid and Ruaka. We've then got 6-woman action with the Donna Del Mondo team of Maika, Stiori, and Mirai taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Mina Shirakawa, Mei Sakurai, and Waka Tsukiyama. Semi-main is a tag team match between Aphrodite and the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano and Unagi Sayaka. And then the main event is a singles match between Momo Watanabe and Azumi. So aside from the main event, which obviously is going to be fantastic, what jumps out at you from that first Korakuen card, Matt? Anything? Nothing?
I mean, all that should be good. Again, you're kind of shaking up the roster, so you're going to kind of see with all the new people that they brought in and some of the new faces that they're pushing just to see what they're going to do. But it's always nice to see the Stars trio of Kagama, Hazuki, and Mayu. I think it's only a matter of time before they win the Artist Stardom belts. But I don't know. Everything looks really good, but it looks like I think that card is just building towards the main event. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a great deal here that is compulsory viewing, I feel. That semi-main, Aphrodite versus Tam and Unagi, that could be very, very good. Julia and Tekla versus Starlight Kid and Ruaka could be decent. But yeah, I imagine it'll be a card that builds to those final two matches. On the 9th, then, we have the following. So we open with a singles match between Tekla and Saki Kashima. We've then got a tag team match with the Stars team of Mayu Iwatani and Hanan taking on Unagi Sayaka and Waka Tsukiyama. 6-woman action follows with the Donna Del Mondo team of Himeka, Maika, and Mirai taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Tam, Mai, Sakurai, and Mina Shirakawa. 8-woman tag with Queen's Quest, Lady C, Azumi, Saya Kamatani, and Utami taking on the Uedatai team of Momo, Starlight Kid, Ruaka, and Rina. And then the main event is a Goddesses of Stardom Championship match between the champions, ALK, and the challengers and Goddesses of Stardom tag league winners, FWC, Hazuki, and Koguma. So again, I'll ask you the same question, Matt. Of all those matches, aside from the main event, which again, I am extremely looking forward to, what sticks out there for you?
Again, the same. It'll be interesting to see, who rises up in this spot. You can see somebody, a Unagi or a Mina or somebody kind of maybe rise their stock. I mean, here we go. It's the start of the new year. But again, like everything should be good. But again, just like night one, the focus is going to be on that main event. And I think that we're going to see new champions. I think you just have, seriously, got way too many belts. I think you're going to see new champions. And I think you're going to see Hazuki get the pinfall. And I don't know if it's going to be on Julia, or I wouldn't be shocked if she, does one of her, she does a Lamai shot cradle and pin Siri, and that sets up a Hazuki Siri match for the red belt somewhere down the line. But I think that would be something. I think that's going to happen. I think you're going to see Hazuki get the pinfall, and it's going to build to her getting a title match sometime probably in February or March.
I agree. I do think FWC get the championship belts here. You mentioned Donna Del Mondo. At one point during 2021, Donna Del Mondo had every single belt. Julia had the white belt, Shiori's had the red belt, they've had the artist belts, obviously ALK and Maika and Himeka have held the Goddess of Stardom championships, and Shiori is still yet to be defeated for the SWA belt. So, aside from the future belt, I apologize. Aside from the future belt, Donna Del Mondo have held every single belt in the company in the space of a year, which is a phenomenal stat when you think about it. But yeah, I do see Stars taking the belts here, simply because at the moment, Shiori's got 3 belts, never mind Donna Del Mondo. Plus, it frees up Julia to do some singles stuff, which I imagine we'll be heading towards as well. So I'd be very, very, very surprised if FWC don't walk away as tag champs there. But I think we'll be looking at, if we're talking Stars, I'd be surprised if this is under a 4-star match. 4-star basement we're looking at, I reckon, with this match.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why this match should not be fantastic.
We've then got night 3, which is from KFC Hall in Tokyo, and this is the card for that match. We have got a tag team match between the Cosmic Angels team of Unagi Sayaka and Mei Sakurai and the Uedatai team of Saki Kashima and Rina. We've then got a 3-way match between Hazuki, Saya Kamatani, and Fukigen Death. I'm putting my house on Fukigen Death winning that. We've then got a 6-woman tag with the Queen's Quest team of Utami, Azumi, and Lady C taking on the Uedatai team of Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Ruaka. Maybe Momo Watanabe will finally get a pinfall in 6-woman action. Who knows? We've then got more 6-woman action. The Donna Del Mondo team of Maika, Shiori, and Himeka taking on Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Hanan. That should be a very good match. And then in our main event, it is the Donna Del Mondo team of Julia, Tekla, and Mirai taking on the Cosmic Angels team of Tam, Mina Shirakawa, and Waka Tsukiyama. Matt, those 2 last matches again look quite tasty. And again, that matchup of Shiori and Mayu Iwatani, maybe that is somewhere we're heading later on.
I think maybe you should flip the main events. I think the Queen's Quest versus the Way to Tie 6-man should be kind of maybe bumped up. and I think the semi-main should be the main. Again, I mean, obviously they're putting a lot into the Mundo, and I understand that, but those are, I didn't know what the card was until you just read it off. I knew what the first two nights were, but I was like, to me, the two best were the second and third six women tag matches. So, but yeah, I think obviously we're gonna keep planting the seeds here for Siri and for Mayu. I mean, that's your red belt. That's your that's your big thing there. Yeah, I think they're going to plant that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Don't get me wrong, the main event will be good, but I just think there's probably more steam on the Siri versus Mayu, and then obviously you have Momo versus any members of the Queen's Quest, and obviously we're going to see, maybe we'll see a stiff chop kick exchange between Lady C and Momo, and then Lady C goes over with the Giant Baba chop, not the Great Khali chop.
You're determined to get that in on you.
Yeah.
Determined. I think it's important as well, just the last thing before we wrap up this preview and head into our awards, that Syuri doesn't have a challenger yet for that big show in Nagoya. Whereas Saya Kamatani has got the challenge of Unagi coming up. We've had nothing for Syuri, so it would make sense here for Mayu to get the win, maybe over a Himika, getting revenge over Himika for that pinfall loss over Koguma at this show that we've just reviewed. Who knows? But it would make sense for a Mayu to challenge, because a Syuri versus Mayu rematch will sell. You put Mayu at the top of the card against anyone and it will sell. So it would make sense. Plus, like I said earlier, it ties off that storyline as well. So we'll see where that goes. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is the time that some of you have been waited for with bated breath. It is the full final rundown, the results, if you will, of the Stardom Cast End of Year Awards 2021. And so, ladies and gentlemen, because this is our End of Year Awards 2021, me and Matt thought it would be a fantastic sort of thing to do to bring in a special guest. Now, no, it's not Mayu. No, it's not Julia. It's Chris O'Brien. Chris, hello.
Hello, Matt. I've been enjoying your insight on the podcast. It's a different insight from us because we don't wrestle. Like, imagine if I took a bump, I would be winded, cry, and then call my mum. So I've been enjoying your insights. I think it's really cool to have that sort of insight in a podcast. Robert, you whore.
Hello, how are you, my friend? It's been a long time. I say long time no speak. We were literally texting earlier today, but
yeah, we text fairly often, believe it or not.
We do. It's almost like we are friends. How are you, you filthy animal?
I'm fine. I'm kind of just end year list pilled right now.
Of course. I believe your video is out soon. Am I right?
Well, soon is a relative term.
Okay.
If by soon you mean by the end of the month, yeah, probably. If by soon you mean like within days, no. It's fucking long. It's so long. It's needlessly long.
You've posted updates to Twitter, and I believe.
Oh yeah, it's more than that now.
Oh my god!
Last Twitter knew it was 10,000 words, and at that point I hadn't even written about 20 of the matches on my list, or 23 of the wrestlers on my list.
My God, man! Stop being so wordy.
I mean, like, most of it's not the list. Most of it's like the pre-stuff, like the feud of the year and my non-wrestling favorites.
Is this like your favorite albums and stuff?
Yeah, favorite albums, favorite films, favorite TV. I've got a bit about Doctor Who in 2022. It's going to be a good time.
I cannot wait to watch it. But for now, Chris, obviously you're delving back for one podcast only into the world of Stardom. You want to come and give us your insights into the categories. So what I'm going to do is, and the way we're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to read out the category, the wrestlers. I'll give mine, Matt will give his, and then Chris will give his, and then we'll read out the winner as voted for by you. And the first thing I want to say is, we've been inundated with responses. The amount of responses is so much more than last year, and last year was amazing. So thank you to everyone that's interacted with us. We really, really, really do appreciate it. It really does mean a lot to us that people actually take time out of their day to just vote on something that we've put out there. So thank you very much. So without further ado, let's kick straight into this. So the Stardom Wrestler of the Year 2021. You had the entire roster to vote for here, so I'm not going to go through every single person on the roster. What I am going to do is, though, I'm going to throw to Matt. Matt, give us 3, 2, and 1 of your Stardom Wrestlers of the Year.
Number 3, Tam Nakano. Number 2, Shuri. And number 1, I think this is almost going to be unanimous, Utami.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'd be amazed if Utami's isn't Chris's as well. Chris, what about you for Wrestler of the Year?
Oh, I'm going to surprise. So number 3 is Shuri.
Uh-huh.
Number 2 is Starlight Kid.
Okay.
And number 1 is Momo.
Wow. Utami not in the top 3 at all.
We're going to have an argument, aren't we? Utami is like, her highs are really good. Her lows, for me, are really low. And then there's not much in the middle.
He's back 90 seconds and he's shaking it up, folks. And that's what's great. That's what, we talked about earlier on this podcast. Hey, everybody likes certain things. You like chocolate, I like strawberry, this guy likes vanilla, this person likes Rocky Road. In the end, it's all ice cream.
Absolutely.
In the end, it's all ice cream.
One thing we can all agree on, though, is that Starlight Kid's had a phenomenal year.
Oh, she's had a great year. She's worked as both a face and a heel. And also is just kind of cool.
Yeah, that is true. She is, to be fair. She's got that look, hasn't she, and that presence that's just, it means she's just cool.
Yeah, she's like, her entrance was so good that it fooled people into thinking she was the leader of Hereditary when Tora was still there. It's like, she's sitting right there.
For me personally, my number 3 is Starlight Kid, for the exact reasons that Chris has outlined. She's put on tremendous matches all year round, ones that have been completely forgotten about, like that first match with Natsupoi at the end of March. Tremendous. Her matches with MK Sisters and Mayu, absolutely amazing. And then her matches as heel, where she put on an absolute banger in that 3-way with Koguma and Azumi at Queendom. I think she's been fantastic, and it's been a real elevation year for Starlight Kid this year. Number 2 is Syuri. I gave 3 5-star matches in Stardom. If we're going off star ratings, I gave 3 5-star ratings in my book, and Syuri was involved in all 3. So, her matches with Utami and that 5-star final with Momo was absolutely tremendous. I am just going to give a couple of special mentions just for Tam and Momo, who literally just missed out on my top 3. And then Utami, number 1. I disagree with Chris, but, what's new? Me and Chris disagree on most things most of the time.
Wait until we start talking about Tam.
Oh yeah, I know. I think Utami has had an absolutely astonishing year. I think the one match that potentially didn't go to plan was against Takumi, and that went too long. However, her matches against Hazuki, her matches with Maika, there's 2 Syuri matches that go without saying. She put on...
The Tora match would have been fantastic if Tora hadn't gotten injured, because that was
shaping up to be so good.
It was shaping up to be my favourite Utami match of the year, and then
obviously Tora's injury. Yeah. But then you look at, she was placed second from the top at Budokan against Saya Kamitani, and basically said, right, here is this future star, make her look good. And Saya did a tremendous job, obviously, but Utami held that match together beautifully. And then her match with B. Priestley, which again,
she pulled a banger out of B.
Exactly. B, she is good, but she can be quite inconsistent. Utami pulled the best match of her year out of it.
B's problem tends to be when she hits a move, you're thinking of other better wrestlers. Like she hits the Kamigoye, and it's like, oh, Ibushi. She hits the fucking V trigger. It doesn't help that she calls it the fucking B trigger. But then, that wasn't a problem in the Utami match, because we just kind of took really nuts. What the fuck was that apron bomb?
Oh my god!
I'm a bump on the B driver.
Utami's done a couple of those on people where you're like, please, just stop.
Oh, the Hazuki one. Jesus.
Oh, poor Hazuki. Hazuki's been great.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Oh my God, like, wasn't it just?
She just forgot to tuck her neck.
I've been away for a while.
It's like the opposite of the the opposite of a fucking Styles Clash problem.
Oh, God. Right, so basically, this is the rundown of your Wrestler of the Year. So, with other votes, he says, in inverted commas, these are people that got votes but did not make the top 4. Natsupoi, Momo Watanabe, Hazuki, Koguma, Lady C, and Tam Nakano. The top 3, therefore, in third place with, 12% of the vote is Starlight Kid. In second place, with 24% of the vote, is Utami Hayashishita. And the runaway winner, with 46% of the vote, is Syuri. I don't think any of the three of us can really say that Syuri does not deserve to at least be in with a shot of reaching number 1 of Wrestler of the Year. So, a tremendous job.
Of the people who got sustained pushes, because my reasoning for having Momo at number 1 was mostly she did this without having massive sustained pushes. Like, they were very on and off with her, but she still managed to outclass half the roster.
Oh, yeah, she's a tremendous wrestler. Tremendous.
Whereas with Syuri, she was pretty much pushed for a whole year because she's either had the SWA belt or was pursuing Utami. And it's weird. For me, she does best in her more low-key matches. Like, for me, the highlight for Syuri is the Konami matches.
He didn't wrestle low-key.
Yeah, the Konami matches were brilliant. That one at Budokan, it was so close to being like an all-time classic. It just ran a little bit short. And I actually said not too long ago that was the trilogy that we wanted before the Utami trilogy. But of course we only got the 2 matches because of Konami's injury, but it was the trilogy we all wanted because of the history. So yeah, completely agree.
I really like the UWF match because they managed to actually use because it's the most annoying thing in wrestling to me when there's a change in rule set and they don't do anything with it. Like you see this, a lot where they'll just have like a cage, but there's no reason to have the cage. They just have a cage, and they don't really wrestle different towards their win condition. Whereas in a UWF match, knockout, tap out, or lose all your points, there's different win conditions there, and they played to it perfectly. It's oddly not the best UWF match of the year because of GLEAT. It's a shame for Stardom that GLEAT exists, I guess. But they played to it really well, especially since they won't be used to the rule set at this stage.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick, and you just have to use it. You know, it's something that's completely different. Like if you have a cage match or a barbed wire match or no DQ match, it's just something different. Now we see those all the time in wrestling, and we talked about on our podcast with the UWF rules. It was something that's never seen in Stardom before, and really, it's not something that we see a lot of. Like you seeing cage matches almost every week on TV, and they played it absolutely perfect.
They did, definitely. And they added that drama as well, especially as Konami was so close to winning and then ended, we knew she wouldn't be, but the match was actually that good that it made you forget that there was a certain predictability of the result, which to me is everything you could have asked for it.
What's worth mentioning with Syuri also is her versatility, because like Utami, she's there for one thing, and that's her big epic title matches. Whereas Syuri, she has the big epic title matches. Quality may vary depending on person to person. Then you have her little feud with Konami, which is very grapple heavy. You have her tag run with Julia, and then she's working for the SWA belt with everyone from Momo to fucking Unagi.
Yeah.
So
she's been extremely versatile. Completely agree with you. Completely agree.
It's a full year from her, really, and then like she's probably the highlight of the 5-star, apart from maybe Koguma, but also like I just really taken to Koguma.
Koguma's great. we've actually said recently, Matt, haven't we, just how much Koguma has improved. It seems to have been accelerated by the 5-star, where obviously, you're wrestling singles matches against the best in the company on a regular basis. But since she's come back, she's just gone from strength to strength. I mean, it's like Hazuki. Hazuki is like she's never left.
Yeah, and she takes the best German suplexes. Holy jeepers.
Oh,
I
my
think
God,
she's just like, all right, who's going to drop me on the back of my neck today?
I want to see a take on Shinjiro Hashimoto right away.
Let's move on then to our match of the year 2021. So I'll just read out the some of the choices. We had Utami versus Maika from the 5-star Grand Prix, Utami versus Hazuki from Kawasaki Super Wars, Tam versus Saya from Dream Queendom, Mayu versus Yoshiko from All-Star Dream Cinderella, Utami versus Saya from that same show, Julia versus Starlight Kid from Stardom Go to Budokan, Shiori versus Momo from the 5-star Grand Prix, the final, Julia Konami from Stardom Dream Queendom, Julia versus Tam from All-Star Dream Cinderella, Mayu versus Momo from the opening night of the 5-star, and then Utami versus Shiori from Tokyo Dream, and Utami versus Shiori from Stardom Dream Queendom. Matt, start with you again. What match have you voted third, second, and first?
Lot to pick from. Momo, number 3 was Momo and Siri, the final, the 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was from Wrestle Kingdom, the main event, Utami and Siri. And number 1 is the same match, but from the All-Star Dream Cinderella, Siri and Utami.
Yeah.
Siri is 1, 2, and 3. She took all that. She did okay this year.
She didn't do too badly.
Mm-hmm.
I am just, before I throw to Chris, I just want to, there's one match in particular that I'm not going to be able to pick in my top 3. And just like with in fact, I'll do it when it's my turn. Do you know what? Ignore me. Chris, what is your top 3?
I'm going to go ahead and not stay fully on list, mostly because I've already forgotten the list.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind that.
Number 3 is Momo versus... Not Momo, fucking hell. It's Maika versus Utami from day 1 of the 5-star. Because for arm telling from Utami's great there. It's probably Utami's best performance all year for me. Everything from the deadlift suplex on the floor, it decided to bang. I rewatched it recently from a list. It falls down a little bit on rewatch just because it was surrounded by all these fantastic matches, but it's easily Utami's best performance all year. Made me a fan of Maika, who is much better since getting bangs. I have this theory. I can't prove that the bangs are the reason, but there's clearly a direct line of Maika gets bangs, gets good.
Right, you think it's to do with the haircut then?
Have you ever read the Bible, Robert?
I've read.
Yes, yeah. I'm fairly familiar with the Bible, Chris. Yes.
You know
where I know where he's going.
I know where he's going. Yeah.
you know that big bastard with long hair.
You mean Samson?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't think he's ever been referred to before as the big bastard with the hair, but yeah, sure.
I'm bad with names. And yeah, it's like that, except instead of just hair, it's bangs.
Okay. Match 2.
Moving on.
Match 2 is also from the 5-star. Is Shiri versus Momo in the final.
Yeah.
They kick each other very hard.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other... I don't think I should have to justify my pick beyond that.
No, I don't think you should either.
And then my number 1 is Mayu versus Yoshiko.
I knew that would be yours.
Because, first of all, it's concise. I make no bones of the fact I'm not a massive fan of a lot of the big dramatic epics you see in main event Japanese wrestling right now. So that it went 15 minutes? It wasn't long.
Something like that, yeah.
Great. Also, Yoshiko working hurt. I've watched it 3 times now, and I've struggled to notice each time.
Not just hurt though, Chris. She was out for the remainder of the year. This was the last match until January this year that she wrestled.
She's only just back, yeah. And I liked when the seedling wrestlers just refused to catch May.
Oh my god, that suicide dash. Jesus, I forgot about that.
I loved it. And also, the story works no matter what level you're coming as, if you're a Seedling fan, this is a Yoshiko redemption arc. If you're a Stardom fan, it's Mayu defending from an outsider. If you're new to either woman, then it's just kind of a banger.
Mm.
I think it works in several levels, and it's like Mayu at her peak, which we didn't really see again all year or before.
No.
Which makes sense. She's recovering from, 2020.
Yeah.
And like, it's weird because this might be the last big one for a while, because if they're going in that direction, I kind of saw what May does with that extended runtime against Tam, and that was rough. So
yeah, you weren't a fan of that, were you?
Oh, not a fan at all. Jesus Christ. Samson.
For me personally, I'm just going to give two honourable mentions. The one is the Mayu Iwatani and Yoshiko match, Chris. I also love that match. The brutality of Yoshiko against just the ragdoll selling of Mayu. I don't think when Mayu sells like that, I don't think there's anyone better at ragdoll selling and making their opponent look like just a behemoth. And Yoshiko really was like that.
It is like you put a cheat code in on GTA 5.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just Mayu seemed to lose all sorts of structure to her bones and was just made of rubber. And then what would have been sort of 4 on my list was Julia versus Starlight Kid from the Valentine's Day special at Korakuen. Julia working full heel in just going to town on what was at the time white meat babyface Starlight Kid and just destroying kids to the point where it was almost like her own unit. Well, like, Julia, just stop now. You're cutting the mask off her face with a pair of scissors. What are you doing? Calm down. And it was almost an embarrassment from Julia because Starlight had taken her so far. I thought that was magnificent storytelling. But my top 3 is actually pretty much the same as Matt's. Number 3, Syuri versus Momo from the 5-star final. Pretty much the same reason as Chris. They kick each other very, very hard. Though they are 2 on this roster that I could watch wrestle for hours and I'd love it. Then number 2 is actually the Utami and Syuri match from Tokyo Dream Cinderella, the one that broke Meltzer's scale. I've got that at number 2, and then I've got Stardom Dream Queendom Utami versus Syuri as my number 1. The reason that tops out for me is there's everything that I loved about the Tokyo Dream match, except this has the added emotion of the Syuri redemption arc and the legacy arc, which was really pushed in this match. Utami's selling of that knee in that final third of the match is absolutely tremendous. And then that visual that we spoke about, Matt, of Utami hitting that BT bomb, her knee collapsing, dragging herself over, pinning Syuri, and then looking up into the camera to see Syuri's hand grabbing that bottom rope. For me, on a personal level, that is up there with the first time New Japan did the Will Ospreay and Ibushi landing on the feet off the Frankensteiner. That sort
Great
of
camera angle, yeah.
Yeah.
That for me, the tag match.
Yeah, that for me, it's on that level of brilliant visual. I thoroughly adored that Stardom Dream Queendom match. But your votes, yours are the ones that count. So, in no particular order, the ones that got other votes, the matches that got other votes, were as follows. The Hana Kimura tribute match from Stardom Dream Queendom. Syuri versus Momo from the 5-star final. Mayu versus Yoshiko. Julia versus Starlight Kid. Tam versus Saya Kamatani from the Stardom Dream Queendom show. Utami versus Saya Kamatani from the All-Star Dream Cinderella show. And Mayu versus Momo Watanabe from the first night of the 5-star. And that's something I just want to quickly say before I announce the top 3. The opening 2 nights of the 5-star were phenomenal this year. I was going through to make the list for the match of the year, and I could have literally put 75% of the matches from night 1 and night 2 on there. Absolutely tremendous. They were pay-per-view level, and I know they were actually selling them as pay-per-view, so that makes sense, but even so. So, in third position with 15% of the votes, we have got Julia versus Tam Nakano, the main event from Budokan, which Stardom have also given us their match of the year. And weirdly, all three of us didn't put in our top threes. So I thought that was quite interesting.
It's a weird one in the case of it works really well in the moment. I watched it from watch list, and it's kind of just a car crash, and that's fine. It works for the story they're telling, but it's sort of like, if you want to recall a specific moment, it's nothing to do with the match itself. It's either to do with, for me, the build or the haircut afterwards.
No, I get that. I get that. And from a personal standpoint, it wasn't the best match on the show. There was other better matches on the show.
It wasn't even the top 3 matches on that show.
There you go. I mean, Matt, do you feel the same, or is it just one that you sort of, other better matches just push it out?
I mean, I see your point of view. I thought it was the best match of the show, and a lot of it had to do with just the emotion of the crowd. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what you want to get. It's important what happens in the ring, but the build was maybe the second best build match of the entire year, obviously behind the main event of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
But I think just the crowd was so invested, and they so just wanted, and I think everybody knew how it was going to end. I mean, there was only, you build up, you have to have this payoff. So in that respect, as an in-ring competitor, the best match is the one that gets the crowd, and that one had the crowd from start to finish. So I understand why, the fans voted on it, and I understand why Stardom, had it as number 1. And I also understand why we didn't have it in the top 3. And hey, that just makes just for a good conversation. So it doesn't mean that you have to like it just because Stardom had it number 1, or it doesn't mean that, you have to dislike it because we didn't have it. I see everybody's kind of points of view on it, but I understand, hey, that was a match that really, really had the crowd going. And it was a barn burner as well.
Matt is such a nice person.
He's amazing, isn't he?
Yeah, like, you must have breathed a fucking sigh of relief when he came on. Like,
oh my God.
It's gonna be good. I don't need to argue so often.
No, I don't argue with anything. If anything's like negative or anything, it's just, hey, life's too short for that, man. Life is just way too short.
How did you listen to this podcast?
It's because I'm so unerringly positive, Chris.
That's what it was. That's what it was. And the fact that I know maybe when I get 10 episodes in, I can ask him if, how big of a deal Johnny Saint is over in his country, England. But that's another story for another day.
Johnny Saint isn't even like the top 3 world of sports. Let's not get into it.
No. Stop it, Chris.
Moving on.
Anyway, let's go on to tag match of the year. So again, I'll really quickly run through all of the options. Queen's Quest versus Oedo from Osaka Super Wars 2021. Stars versus Oedo from Tokyo Dream Cinderella Special Edition. Konami and Syuri versus Maika and Unagi. Momo Watanabe and Saida versus Arisa Nakajima and Nene Takahashi. Utami and Izumi versus Syuri and Natsupoi from Stardom and Chiba. Queen's Quest versus Oedo from the year-end climax. Momo AZ versus FWC from the Goddess of Stardom Tag League final. Julia and Syuri versus Maika and Himika from Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2021. Stars versus Donna Del Mondo, the ladder match at Osaka Super Wars. The tag match from Stardom Dream Queendom with Iroha and Iwatani versus Hazuki and Momo. And then finally, Utami and Tam versus Syuri and Saya from the year-end meeting. Matt, your top 3, if you please.
I'm kind of going to go a little off script as well, just because there was a lot of tag matches that I kind of watched over the last month, just getting prepared for this. So my number 3 is from night 1 from the tag tournament. Momo and Izumi versus Starlight Kid and Ruaka. Ended in a time limit draw. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I believe was from May, which is the MK Sisters versus Syuri and Julia. I really, really enjoyed that. And you can really see how well that they clicked, on the Tokyo Dome this past, just the other night. So I thought the MK Sisters together were absolutely fantastic. And these 4 had an absolute banger. And my number 1 was from the Goddess final, FWC versus Momo AZ.
Okay. Chris, what about you? What are your top 3?
Okay. So number 3 is probably the SLK versus Queen's Quest from that same tour, from the Stars one. I think that's just down to me preferring the Queen's Quest members to the Stars members this year, so I just had a better time with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
There was the Oedo Stars tag match where Starlight went to Oedo.
Yeah, from Tokyo Dream Cinderella, yeah.
like holding May there, having to watch Starlight Fall was like the height of drama. So good.
It was so well done. It was so well done.
It doesn't matter. The rest of the match was good, but like I don't care about the rest of the match. It's that. It's that I like. It's
that
like,
emotion was superb.
It's just like fucking somehow not Reservoir Dogs. Imagine Stardom Reservoir. I'm going off topic.
You are going off topic slightly.
I wasn't going to pick it, but then you put it on the fucking. You put it on the options, so I'm taking it. It's Arita Nakajima and
I knew it would be.
and then Takahashi versus Saida and Momo Watanabe. It was a fucking coming out party for Saida that match.
Yeah.
Like she did so well. Momo is a great stoic ace. It's a shame Stardom doesn't see that. And then you have the seedling wrestlers with Arita Nakajima just taking unbelievable amount of joy in hurting Saida.
Yeah, she did.
And Nene Takahashi being a dick and stealing the B driver.
Yeah.
She's still doing that. She's still just doing the B driver. It's fucking ridiculous. And as a new fan of Seed, I knew those wrestlers going in, which I think really helped. It made for a great little dream match. And honestly, I think More Than Eclipse is the eventual singles match between Momo and Nene, mostly because most of the best matches in that also happened in this tag match, and it happened here first. And it didn't have to follow a 30-minute battle royal.
No, that is true. That also had Kikutaro in it. Me personally, I'm going to go... Okay, I'm going to go number 3. I'm going to go Queen's Quest versus Uedatai, Osaka Super Wars. For pure drama, I thought it was tremendous. They took a very predictable result because not one person was watching this thinking that Starlight Kid was going to go to Queen's Quest. Not one person. So everyone sort of watched this with an inevitability of, well, Momo's going then. So, how are they going to make this interesting? And me and you, Matt, sort of bandied some ideas about. And to have Momo actually choose to turn on Queen's Quest, the faction she'd been a part of for 5 years since its inception, and to do it on Azumi, her best friend, and to do it not only on a best friend, but someone who is still a child, effectively, and to watch that person crumble as their best friend leaves and she doesn't know why. Emotional storytelling at its best. It just pips the Stars and Uedatai match from Tokyo Dream. I thought that they executed that turn wonderfully. They executed it perfectly. Number 2 for me is the ladder match from Osaka Super Wars. Living proof that just because we have a ladder, we don't have to do ridiculous spots off it all the damn time. The ladder made sense. We had eliminations, which makes every ladder spot make sense. And overall, it was just a very, very fun match. And, sometimes that's all I want. But it didn't go out of the realms of being logical either, which was really important. And then number 1, the Goddess of Stardom Tag League final with Momo Izzy and FWC. I mean, again, you've got Hazuki, Koguma, Azumi, and Momo Watanabe in a ring. How would this ever not be good? And it was absolutely great. And bearing in mind that FWC had already wrestled twice before this match, and Momo Izzy had they wrestled the match before as well?
Yep.
Against Blue Marin? So, and I said this when we reviewed it, like, you would be completely forgiven for thinking they would phone this in, and Jesus Christ, they didn't. Like,
tag match of the year.
Absolutely. It went like the absolute clappers for 15 minutes. It was such fun to watch. And FWC, of course, came out worthy winners. So yeah, that was my number 1 as well. So, in no particular order, the Stardom Tag Matches of the Year, as voted by you, are as follows. Other votes: Utami Hayashita and Azumi versus Shiori and Natsupoi, Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai from Year End Climax, Momo and Sayurida versus Arisa Nakajima and Nene Takahashi, Stars and Oedo Tai from Tokyo Dream, Queen's Quest versus Oedo Tai from Osaka Super Wars, and Konami and Shiori versus Maika and Unagi from the Year End Climax 2021. In third place, with 19% of the votes, is the ladder match between Stars and Donna Del Mondo from Osaka Super Wars. In second place, with 22%, Julia and Shiori versus Maika and Himika from Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2021 in spring. I know you weren't a fan, Chris.
I fucking hate that match.
And top of the tree, 31%, a runaway winner, Momo AZ versus FWC, Goddesses of Stardom Tag League Final, Night 7. A worthy winner, I would have thought anyone would agree. Let's move on to Show of the Year then. These are your options. Yokohama Cinderella in spring, Osaka Grand Final in Osaka-jo Hall, Tokyo Super Wars, Yokohama Dream Cinderella in summer, Kawasaki Super Wars, the 5-Star Grand Prix, Night 1, Night 2, and Night 17. Osaka Super Wars, Stardom Dream Queendom, All-Star Dream Cinderella, and finally Tokyo Dream Cinderella Special Edition. So, Matt, your top 3 shows of the year, please.
Number 3 for me, I put the Budokan show, just because that's just such a huge deal. Me being a ginormous 90s All Japan fan, they ran that venue all the time. So obviously, we've had other promotions that were in there over the past handful of years, but I thought the show was great, from top to bottom. Well, maybe not all the matches, but just the fact they were in that venue. That's why I gave it number 3. Number 2 was the 5-Star Grand Prix final. Obviously, we talked nauseam how great that final was with Sherry and Momo, but even Sherry versus Takumi, Utami versus Tam, top to bottom, just a great show. Number 1, just barely edging it out, Wrestle Kingdom at the end of the year. I mean, Stardom had probably one of their best years, if not their best year, and they ended it with one of the best overall wrestling shows in all of wrestling, in my opinion. So, yeah, number 1 for me is definitely Wrestle Kingdom.
Chris, what about you?
So, I'm struggling for number 3, mostly because it comes down to what you leave off rather than what you put on. I'm gonna go at number 3 with they're all number 3. Number 2.
There have been some tremendous shows this year.
Number 2 is night 1 of the 5-Star. That was just straight up really good, really fun night of wrestling. I watched it with listener of the podcast, Belkedge, who is a very excitable person. Like
yes.
I remember once I was doing a stream, it was me, him, and Forrest Silver. And me and Forrest were just talking about Ring of Honor while he was watching fucking Aja Kong versus Kyoru having the time of his life.
Just loves it.
Yeah, no, he's very easy to impress, that man. Which sort of raised the whole thing for me, but also it's probably the best best objective card of the year, because nothing missed apart from maybe Koguma versus Death, but that's mostly because the joke went on too long.
Yeah, it certainly did.
And then number 1's Budokan. Me and Rob said this at the time, Wrestle Kingdom last year and also this year kind of missed a sense of occasion. It felt like going through the motions. There was WrestleMania's had this problem recently as well, where the product hasn't quite been hot enough to going in to really make you excited. But this being Stardom running this legendary venue for the first time at a time where the product was decent, it was this just great sense of occasion. It's not a perfect card by any means. I mean, that fucking Battle Royal can get him the pin. Although, my favourite part of that is Emi Sakura sneaking the entire
Did you read that afterwards? Yeah.
She didn't tell anyone. She just snuck the fucking roster of Choco Pro onto the ramp.
Why not? If you can, why not?
Yeah, it's what are you going to do? Shout at Emi Sakura. But every match after that delivered, the Momo Nene match was great. The Mei Ishika match was amazing. The Saya Utami match over-delivered. And then the main event was exactly what you'd want it to be for a hot feud. So it was a very good show. It was a very strong show. I also got to watch it live. That never happened before then for Stardom. Like, what am I going to do? Pay £50 for a pay-per-view? No, I'm getting Samurai TV.
For me, I really want to put Osaka Super Wars on there, simply because they ran Eddie and Arena Osaka without a single singles match, and it was a great show. But I can't, in all good faith, leave off some of the 5-star Grand Prix nights, because, as I've already said, this year's 5-star Grand Prix felt fantastic, especially the 3 nights that we've got on there. 1, 2, and 17 were fantastic nights. But for me, night 17 of the 5-star Grand Prix, the final, from top to bottom, absolute bangers. Matt's already mentioned them. I'm not going to mention them again, but that final is an absolutely sensational match. A truly, truly sensational match. Second, I'm going to put All-Star Dream Cinderella and Budokan. All of the reasons Chris labelled. Not only the fact that, the matches were all great, more or less, apart from the Battle Royal, but the fact that it was Budokan Hall, the first Joshi promotion to run it since 1995, to then draw 3,000 and some, 3,318 people, I think, was the recorded attendance. To do that and to top it off in the way that it was topped off with that hair versus hair match, it really did feel the way I felt about Wrestle Kingdom 11 and 12 and 13. It was that sort of same excitement. And any show that can get me that excited deserves to be on this list. And that's exactly the reason why, at number 1, I've got Stardom Dream Queendom. I had COVID watching this. I was ill with COVID watching this, and I still love this show. I couldn't stay awake, and I still love this show. It's got, 2 of my matches.
Are you sure you didn't dream half this show if you couldn't stay awake?
Maybe I did. I did.
Didn't you wonder why Super Mario was fighting Utami?
Mayu cashed in, right? That happened. But yeah,
Stephanie McMahon was under the Momo mask.
Oh yeah, she created women. She's everywhere.
She did. Welcome to the Queendom. But yes,
yeah, the show's named after her.
That 1-2 main events of Saya versus Tam was tremendous. Utami versus Syuri, I've already waxed lyrical about why that's my match of the year. The only match for me that really missed on that entire card was the tag match, third from the top. And that's more, I think, poor execution than anything else. I can see what they were trying to do with the Momo attacking Hazuki, but it fell a little bit flat for me.
By the way, as someone who's been on and off with Stardom in the last 3 months, the fact that Momo masked people have been attacking is really confusing, because they'll go on Twitter and it's like, Momo attacked someone. I'm like, well, that's shocking. It's like, no, the mask. It's like, oh, fucking hell. They shit on me, that mask. I don't like those masks.
No, they are grotesque. They're horrible. And something that I haven't mentioned from Dream Queendom is the Hana Kimura tribute match, which, as I spoke about it on our review. Like, I loved it. From an emotional standpoint, this hit and resonated so much, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect for what it was trying to do. And both women tried to sock the living shit out of each other, which I absolutely love. Anyway, it's not about me, though. It's about the public. What did the public vote? Well, in no particular order, in the others category, we had night 17 of the 5-star Grand Prix, Osaka Super Wars. 5-star Grand Prix nights 1 and 2, Kawasaki Super Wars 2021, which was the one headlined by Utami versus Suzuki. Hidden gem, by the way. Go and watch that again. And then Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2021 in summer also got votes. Top 3 then. In third place with 13% of the votes is Tokyo Dream Cinderella 2021 Special Edition. Bless you. Number 2, with 22% of the votes, was All-Star Dream Cinderella from Budokan Hall, which of course leaves in first place the runaway victor with almost half the votes, 48% of the votes, Stardom Dream Queendom 2021 from Sumo Hall. None of us mentioned Tokyo Dream Cinderella as our top 3 show of the year. I don't think that's doing any that's not because we didn't enjoy Tokyo Dream Cinderella. I just think there have been some absolutely stellar cards and stellar matches being put on by Stardom, to be perfectly honest.
It was Tokyo Dream Cinderella, that's the one with Utami and...
It's Utami Syuri in the main event. It's the Stars Oeda Tai that we both loved. I can't remember who Tam fought for the white belt in that match.
That would have been... No, that wouldn't be the Nazi Poyo one. That would be... No, Tam didn't fight for white belt on that one. I remember that being a problem at the time because she didn't defend a belt for like 3 months.
Yes. No, she was in the artist's belts. That's why.
Because Utami versus Shuri was the show with the Cinderella finals.
Of course, that was the semi-main.
See, also the fact that we couldn't remember half his card kind of shows why I didn't remember.
Stardom's most improved wrestler of the year, 2021. Matt, your top 3, please.
I know everybody's gonna make fun of me, but I gotta put Lady C on there, number 3.
Mate, I don't blame you.
Lady C is so popular. I haven't been in that Discord. I'm not in that the Stardom Cast Discord now because people just get annoyed with me not liking Stardom. But the Stardom Cast Discord fucking love.
Well, I've gone on why I like her. I mean, her work ethic. I'm all about work ethic, and now she's a part of Queen's Quest, so that's gonna be interesting to see.
She's also very tall.
Yes. All right. My 1 and 2, I have flip-flopped 4 times in the last 5 weeks, and I just flip-flopped it again after what I thought Wrestle Kingdom. So number 2 is Saya Kamatani, and number 1 is Starlight Kid.
Yep. Can't fault that. Chris?
Okay. Number 3 is Saya Kamatani.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting these Sayas. She can drown in big matches sometimes. She's had 3 big matches this year in the sense of big title matches. She did well with Utami. She did fine with Tam at Queendom. Me and you have talked about this a lot. She drowned against Tam in their first match for me.
Yeah.
But partly because part of that was the expectations thrown on her, but also she had a solid Cinderella. She had a solid enough 5-star. She's improved. She's not quite there yet. She could be. She stands out in Stardom because we don't really have spot monkeys. So she fills a niche. She'll probably get better if Stardom put her in a position where she can still grow. So I've enjoyed her this year. 2, this is going to seem weird, but Ruaka.
No, doesn't seem weird at all.
Because she's basically become a mini Tora, and that's just kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
She had some really good stuff in the 5-star. I remember liking that Takumi match, but mostly because I like seeing teenagers suffer. as an uncle, I have undying disdain for the younger generation. And then number 1 is Starlight Kid, because every single issue me and you had with her last year is basically gone now.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really have a mean streak. She definitely has a mean streak now. Weak looking offense. Nah, no real kill moves. Well, she has kill moves now. And then giving out a honorable mention, it would go to Mina Shirakawa because she went from dog shit to watchable. So,
my personal top 3. Number 3, Mina Shirakawa. I think I'm going to completely rip off what you said on Twitter, Chris, and I do say this often. We've now got to stop saying, "Oh, that's good for a Mina match," and just accept that Mina can put on good matches. Her ability to have different matches as well. I mean, depending on who you talk to, it was fairly divisive, their match at Tokyo Super Wars, her and Tam. But her idea to bring in storytelling and things like that, I think she should be commended for that, to be perfectly honest. And she can't help the botch that caused her to, end up being concussed or whatever. So ultimately, I think she's done a tremendous job this year. She's really built on that tag league team with Tam. And ultimately, I think she's improved massively. Number 2, Starlight Kid, I think, again, has had an absolutely phenomenal year. She's proved that she can wrestle in an absolute range of different guises. You know, white meat babyface against the likes of Julia to heel against the likes of Momo Watanabe, Koguma, Azumi, people like that. And then she's just put on an absolute banger with absolutely no build at Wrestle Kingdom 16. So honestly, wouldn't surprise me if she's one of the top stars of the company come this time next year. And then number one, I did not think I'd be saying this at the start of the year, but Unagi Sayaka.
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that.
Rob Goodwin is known to be on crack.
Yeah.
So.
Honestly, it's well publicized how much I dislike Unagi. Well, disliked, shall we say. I don't not like her. But initially, the push that she was given was completely at odds with what she was doing in the ring. I feel like Stardom did a very few favors early on by putting her into positions she was not ready for. And ultimately, Chris, you spoke about Saya's 5-star, and we talked about how Koguma's 5-star built her back up, so to speak, or helped her improve. I think the 5-star was an absolute blessing in disguise for Unagi, because since then she's gone from strength to strength. She's always had the charisma of a star, but that first white belt match where she had, I think it was at Kawasaki Super Wars against Tam, and she came out, she had the samurai sword, and she sort of strode down to the ring with this charisma. It's the first time that I've looked at Unagi and thought, I can see what the Stardom higher-ups are actually thinking about now with this. She looks and feels like a star, and her matches have progressively got a lot better. One huge thing that me and Chris had issue with at the start of the year was her offense. She just simply did not have the moveset, and when she did, it wasn't connecting properly. It felt like the 5 moves of doom almost, but worse. But she's improved that. She's constantly adapted a moveset, and she's getting pushed a correct amount, in my opinion now. She's improved massively from where she was at the start of the year, and my own personal enjoyment of her has improved, which is, if anything, why I've given her the most improved wrestler. I don't feel like there's anything else I can say about it, but there we go.
She's much better having her handheld through matches. Now, I don't think she'd ever let her lead a match right now, because
and that can change. Look what you guys thought,
that's true.
9 months ago.
She can
you know what I mean?
get better.
Yeah.
She's only just finished technically being a rookie.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's a case of, like, every wrestler goes through a stage where their hand has to be held. That's not a slight on Unagi. I think the overpush in the start of the year really didn't help her. Like, being thrown into a 20-minute draw. It wasn't a half. It's just a 20-plus minute match with Shiri. A few time limit draws as part of Cosmic Angels. It's sort of like giving her way too much too fast, and that's not like a deserving it thing, but I say she physically can't do this thing. She doesn't have enough time to fill that runtime. She has gotten better. She somehow wasn't the worst match of Tam's reign. I'm looking at you, May. She's definitely improved.
Massive.
I wouldn't say she's the most improved, but again, you're historically on crack. So
well, you say that. Let's have a look at what the public thought. The
public are historically on crack.
The others under votes are as follows. Sairida, Utami Hayashishita, Momo, Azumi, and Natsupoi have all registered votes. Maika, Mina Shirakawa, and Lady C as well. In third place, we have Starlight Kid. In second place, with 18% of the vote, is last year's most improved wrestler, Saya Kamatani. And with 28% of the vote, yes, you people know what is right. Unagi Sayaka is our most improved wrestler of the year. So that'll make Chris very, very happy. For the last 3 lads, then, we're not going to go through our top 3 simply because there's not enough options. So we're just going to give our 1, and then we'll go through the top 3 for each one. So Feud of the Year 2021, we've got Stars versus Cosmic Angels, Mayu versus Tam, Starlight versus Momo, Stars versus Oedetai, Julia versus Tam, and Utami versus Syuri. Matt, what is your Feud of the Year, and why is it Utami versus Syuri?
No, number 3 is Momo versus Starlight Kid, just what it led to, and probably one of the greatest double countouts in the last 10 years. Tam versus Julia for obvious reasons, and yes, Siri and Utami Siri versus Utami is number 1. And just to give you the reason why, I mean, I don't really have to give a reason why, is my favorite. I love everything about wrestling, but my favorite thing is what happens bell to bell. I don't need a crazy storyline. Obviously, we had a great storyline with Tam and Julia, but my thing is, it's just who's better. It's just who is better. Like, my favorite feuds in wrestling are Steamboat versus Flair, Misawa versus Kawada, Misawa versus Kobashi, Okada versus Tanahashi, Danielson versus McGuinness. And there's no crazy storyline going into it. It's just let's have a banger of a match and give the fans their money's worth. So that's why Siri and Utami is my number 1, is just because that's what their trilogy of matches this past year reminded me of. And I hope we get a lot more of that.
Absolutely. Chris, feud of the year for you.
It's not Shuri versus Utami.
I didn't think it would be for you.
I already know it's going to be the fucking winner, so I thought I'd get ahead of that. For me, it's not Shuri versus Utami. It's Stars versus Oedatai. Vajama was really good there, and Vajama was mostly contained bell to bell, so that's real good. It's not. I wouldn't call any match in the feud essential by any means, but from continued enjoyment and also continued just improvement as Oedatai got better throughout the year. It was just great to see. And like, they also were working, like, at the time they were the 2 most anemic factions in Stardom.
They were.
Like, Stars lost Saida and Jungle at the start of the year, and then Oedatai just didn't have a lot of people. They lost B as well. So they weren't. So they were working with Tina. Like, Stars had to bring in Rin Katakora for Marvelous to have a full team. So like, they did the best with. They did really, really well with what they had as well. They weren't like gifted this amazing feud on a silver platter. They actually had to put effort in to make it work. So I just kind of appreciate that. Like, just from a mechanical standpoint, they've taken sort of water and turned it into Coors Light. Like, it's not the most ideal. It's not the most ideal beer, but you know what? It's gonna do. It does. It do.
I'll be honest. I've actually
That's almost
mentioned
the same thing. Waters and Coors Light's like the same thing.
Could be worse. It could be fucking Bud Light.
Oh yeah.
My god. That's basically piss with alcohol content. Anyway,
Stars versus Oedatai I've actually talked about on the podcast before you came on, Chris, simply because it's almost single-handedly responsible for rehabbing Oedatai. It was the drama that Oedatai needed to actually give them direction to help us to start to actually appreciate them.
That's the problem with Oedatai before. It was chaos with no purpose.
Exactly. It was chaos for chaos's sake, which meant that nothing made sense, which just drove people's interest in them to an all-time low, which is a real shame, because ultimately, come June, July, they were fantastic again. And my only wish is that Natsuko Tora managed to see out to the end of the year. But obviously, you know, she can't help being injured, and it was
my
so
wish
innocuous.
is that Natsuko Tora beat Utami and then hung everyone.
We genuinely thought that was going to be a thing. Do you remember?
That would have been fucking incredible. I'd still be on this podcast if I'd happened.
You think you would be. Utami versus Suri is my feud of the year as well. I don't feel like I need to justify it, really. It's a feud that has been built fantastically well for the entirety of the year. It's been culminated by 2 absolute bangers. You know, people often forget that they had a time limit draw in the 5-star as well, which was a very, very good match, not on par with the 2 at Tokyo Dream and Queendom, but even so, a really good match.
That's my favourite of the series.
I know, I know it's your favourite. But ultimately, it's a feud that has put Stardom on.
We also had a match in the Cinderella, didn't we?
Yes, they did. I'm not going to count that because it was about 7 minutes. But it's there. It's there as part of the feud.
You can do a lot in 7 minutes.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say
about how you. It's about how you use the time given to you.
Maximize your minutes. What do we always say?
Maximize your minutes. You know, not everyone likes a long drawn out thing. Some people like it to be concise, quick.
Go on.
Move on to the next one.
So, feud of the year. In third place, the public have voted with 9% of the vote Stars versus Oedetai. In second place, 22% of the vote Julia versus Tam Nakano. And 58% of the vote, a whopping 58% of the vote, Utami Hayashishita versus Syuri. We move on then. Second to last category, Stardom Moment of the Year. Again, categories, Stardom running Budokan, Stardom running Sumo Hall, Saya's win of the Cinderella, Syuri winning the 5-star, Oedetai taking Starlight Kid, Konami going on hiatus / the Hana Kimura tribute match, Julia getting a head shaved, Momo turning on Queen's Quest, and Hazuki's return. Matt, your
my number 3 is. I'm sorry.
No,
my number 3 is actually not on the list, but I have just the buzz that the first Syuri versus Utami match had, just not only for Stardom, just for wrestling in general, like really changed their business dynamic. It really changed them, obviously, for the better. So I put that number 3, number 2, Stardom running Budokan, and number 1, Momo joining Oedetai.
Yeah. Chris, what about you?
May I just quickly comment on how weird putting Julia and Tam on there is, just because we didn't get to see that because we had to rush out of Budokan because someone went over.
I know. Annoying, but never mind.
For me, it's Stardom running Budokan. Like I said earlier, it just had that sense of occasion that Wrestle Kingdoms and WrestleManias just didn't have for me at that point. So it was just really nice to see. Also, I just really like being up on Budokan.
Yeah, it's a lovely venue.
It's just a lovely building. Did you see this fucking set from the Noah show?
I did.
It was fucking insane, incredible.
It was beautiful. I'm going to go a little bit out of left field. I'm going to say Hazuki's return. Simply because even after the Hana Kimura tribute show, I didn't think I would ever see Hazuki wrestle on a Stardom ring again. The cloud surrounding her original departure, I just didn't think I'd ever see it again. And she was, in ring, one of the best things about Stardom. So to see that happen again, and to see her come back like she hasn't missed a beat as well, phenomenal. And I'm so happy she's back.
I've got a question about the Hazuki comeback.
Yes.
Has she addressed why Jungle attacked her in her retirement yet?
It's all sort of smoke mirrors. It hasn't been directly addressed. However, there is strong.
I can't help but notice a direct correlation of her joining Stars and Jungle leaving.
Yes, yeah, that's the correlation that people have picked up on. I imagine
That's a shame.
It is a shame. It's 100%
a shame. But we don't know. I mean, obviously we don't. You can speculate in internet rumors or whatever, but obviously there's real heat there, and it's just a shame that talent like Jungle Kiona left because Suzuki came in. Hopefully somewhere down the line, cooler heads can prevail and we can get Jungle back into Stardom.
I want Jungle to go to GLEAT.
I think she'd suit well in GLEAT.
So she can shoot fight.
No, that's just my default thing now. I want people
to go to GLEAT.
Yeah, because some fucker ruined my running bit of pretending GLEAT doesn't exist. So now I have to lean into it.
To wrestle in GLEAT, by the way, if anybody wants to book me for, wrestle in GLEAT.
If anyone wants to book Matt Turner, just send his payment to chrisobrien@gmail.com.
Yeah, you can be my handler. I'll give you 15%. And then Rob can ship me a whole bunch of books, and then I'll sell them at my gimmick table.
See?
Yeah,
why did we not think of this earlier? Stardom Moment of the Year, then, as voted for by the public, we have, in no particular order, that have had other votes. Konami going on hiatus, the Hana Kimura tribute match, Oedetai taking Starlight Kid, Syuri winning the 5-star, Stardom running Sumo Hall, Stardom running Budokan, and Saya winning the Cinderella tournament. In third place, with 16%, is Hazuki's return. In second place, with 19%, was Julia getting her head shaved, and 25% of the vote was Momo Watanabe turning on Queen's Quest. Final one then. Final category, and one that probably should take the least amount of time since there's only 5. We have got our faction of the year: Donna Del Mondo, Cosmic Angels, Queen's Quest, Oeditai Stars. Pick one. Matt, who is your faction of the year?
You know what? You can literally make an argument for any one of these groups, but I would have to go with Queen's Quest just from a work rate standpoint. I'm including Momo in there because she was a part of Queen's Quest up until about 7 days before the year. But all 4 of these, you can put them in a 6-person, an 8-person, a tag, any one of them in a main event, and it just works. So to me, it's Queen's Quest all the way.
Chris?
Which is actually an interesting, because you look at them and so like DDM is sort of like the popularity pick. They're sort of like, if you're making any sort of comparison, they're like an LAJ or a Congo where everyone has a different favorite member.
Yeah, they're the prettiest girl at the dance right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Stars is not in contention because they barely exist anymore.
Yeah, Mayu Iwatani, so that's always like, yeah, you know what?
Mayu, but like, sort of like, does that really make them a good faction, or do you just like Mayu?
I said what I said.
Queen's Quest, as Matt said, are probably the most consistently good wrestlers to watch. Like, there's no duds really in Queen's Quest. At least has it existed throughout the year. Like Momo, best wrestler of the year, obviously. Utami, who had the monster run as the champion. Izumi, who is very good at getting kicked out of the air, and I respect that. I've blanked on who I've said so far. Fuck.
You've missed Saya Kamatani. She's the only one left.
Oh, and Saya Kamatani, who me forgetting it says all you need to know. And then you have Cosmic Angels, who again, Mina and Unagi have improved. But like, do you like Cosmic Angels or do you just like Tam? I think that's another case there. But no, I think it's Oeditai. They improved so. Like at the start of this year, me and Rob wish they would fuck off.
True, 100%.
Like that Tora Julia match should go into a fucking museum for matches I was disappointed by that I really shouldn't have been disappointed by. But then like they got a purpose, they got an end goal. Tora stopped using the chain, which helped a lot because she overused that gimmick a lot. It was like Hangman Page's moonsault at the start of AEW, where he was using it every week. And it means when she comes back and starts using the chain again, it's going to be a big deal, like when Hangman pulled out the moonsault in the Bryan match after not putting it out for a while. So, and then it's like the addition of Starlight Kid was really good. They gained a clown, which, you know, they won despite that, so good for them. They did lose B, but they became closer as a unit. Saki Kashima's probably the unsung hero of Stardom this year. She knocks out the park every time she gets an opportunity. She's also something very different in Stardom. She's the most sneaky and nickel and dime of heels in Stardom. So every time you go against her, it's sort of like why I enjoy the ROH pure stuff. It's a styles thing. The way she clashes with people is very different and makes for something interesting. And then Momo joining at the end of the year only makes the faction better. So, yeah, I'm Oeditai, just in terms of like an investment of a product standpoint, I think it's the best one. They also sort of have the most complete feuds. Because like Cosmic Angels and Stars, that feud just kind of got dropped and then picked up again, and it stank, so we dropped it again.
Okay, so Stars have struggled because not only have they had a revolving door of members, they've struggled massively with injury. Like, they had Jungle Kiona on board, and then Jungle went down with a severe injury and then ultimately never came back. Had Jungle come back and the Stars faction at the end of this year been Mayu, Starlight, Jungle, Sayarida, Hazuki, and Kaguma, you're looking at an easy win for the year. But, you know, stuff that Stars can't control, unfortunately, has happened. But I'd argue that the return of Hazuki has stopped this being the worst year ever for Stars and just put it as a meh
year. Is Sayarida back yet?
Not yet, no.
Not yet, no.
No, there's no Tora, no Sayarida yet. But, again, I think the tail end of the year, Hanan winning the Future of Stardom belt, the Goddess of Stardom Tag League win for FWC just about turns their year round, where it was in danger of crashing to earth wreathed in hellfire. For me, it's Queen's Quest. It was between them and Donna Del Mondo for me, though I appreciate the year Cosmic Angels have had. Queen's Quest, exactly the same reason as Matt, actually, weirdly. You can make a tag team match of any four of those members in any team, and they will knock it out of the park. They're quite often my favourite interfaction fights are between members of Queen's Quest, because they just let loose at one another, and each of them are established stars that, to be honest, I thoroughly enjoy watching on a regular basis.
Yeah, when you wrestle your own friends, you're allowed to hit each other. You don't need to apologize. You just make sure you pick up their bar tab afterwards.
Well, I'm assuming that's why Izumi kicked Momo so fucking hard in the face on the third.
Yeah,
I assume Momo didn't care.
Decent happen at the singles match, you know. Oh boy.
Well, in fifth place, with 0% of the vote is Stars, which ironically is the most Mayu thing to happen in the entire award ballot, I think.
How dare you?
In fourth position, with 16% of the vote, is Oedatai. In second place, with 18% of the vote, is Cosmic Angels. With 24% of the vote in second place, it is Queen's Quest, which means that with 42% of the vote, and for the second consecutive year, Donna Del Mondo are the Stardom Cast official faction of the year 2021. Thank you to everybody that voted and again gave us the time of day. We really do appreciate it, and we'll be bringing those back again next year.
Apart from you, Belkich.
And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We really do appreciate it. Myself and Matt will be back on our Patreon on the 19th of January to review Tam Nakano versus Arisa Hoshiki in detail. So if you aren't already a part of our Patreon, go and check it out, patreon.com/The Stardom Cast, and you can go and check out our review of Io Shirai's V14 reign with the red belt. Go and check us out on Twitter at The Stardom Cast, the Facebook page at The Stardom Cast. You can go and check out the website, www.podmania.co.uk. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Matt, where can they find you on social media, my man?
You can find me, just search Matt Turner OF on Instagram and on Twitter. Any questions, comments, feel free to hit me up. Always appreciate the support.
Chris O'Brien, where can they find you?
Crying in the corner.
Fair enough. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Again, one last plug. The Stardom ebook, Living the Dream, is out now on Amazon and Lulu and other places that sell ebooks. Please, it would mean the world if you could go and check it out. But yeah, until next time, guys, thank you, Chris, for coming back for this episode. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.